Hello, everyone. We're going to be answering questions today. We have questions sent to us on Patreon. So if you want me to answer your questions, please check the link in the description to our Patreon account. You can become a patron and send us your questions before these streams go live, and I will answer them. If there is time left, I will also answer some questions in the live chat. But after I answer some questions, what I'm going to do is I'm going to post a link to our YouTube members so our YouTube members can come live on air and talk to me live if they wish to. Okay. So again, patrons get to send me their questions and I answer them. YouTube members get to come live on air and talk to me live on air. All right. So let's look at the Patreon questions. Here's the first one. Okay, so Rob is asking, why are Malaysian Muslims more conservative or regressive in their views than Indonesian Muslims? Well, okay, I don't know. We should say some Malaysian Muslims, relative or like the average. I don't know how true this claim is, but I don't want us to generalize all Muslims in Malaysia or Indonesia together. But let's not be too picky. It goes and so it continues and says, for example, Malaysian Muslims are much more supportive of having a death penalty for apostasy than Indonesian Muslims. This seems odd to me, given that both countries are in the same region of the world. They both follow the same school of Islam, the Shafi'i, and Malaysia has more religious diversity than Indonesia. Okay, so if you want to see, so in the past couple of decades, things have changed so dramatically in attitudes and views in the Islamic world. Like you have seen a surge of radicalism. So it doesn't make sense for us to just look at geography and long history. Like, for example, you're mentioning the one of the four Sunni schools of thought that is more common there in Malaysia, but and in Indonesia. But that's like a longer history that has affected the views over like much older. You have to go a lot big back in the past. Like this is like so old history. Like you have to look at what recently has changed in the world of Islam, a little bit more recent. Like even in the past just 50 years, views and attitudes have changed so dramatically. Like for example, if you look at Pakistan, for example, right? 50 years Pakistan, the views of Muslims and the attitudes and the amount of radicalism was so significantly different than to Pakistan today. Or if you look at Iran, for example, or if you look at Saudi Arabia, right? So given how dramatically things have changed in the past 50 years, you can't look at factors, you can't just isolate factors like geography, because Pakistan's geography hasn't changed for example, Pakistan or Iran's geography hasn't changed in the past 50 years, right? The predominant school of thought in Pakistan or Iran hasn't changed in the past 50 years, but yet its attitudes and radicalism has changed dramatically in the past 50 years in these two countries. So there are other factors that have major roles, right? So what other major roles have an impact on Malaysian attitudes, in Muslims in Malaysia, right? For example, so we say like geography is one of them. They're the same area. Being Shafi'i school of thought is one factor. So what are some other alternative factors, right? So let's look at, like for example, what was Iran? It had an Islamic revolution, right? What was Pakistan? Pakistan had Saudi Arabia in competition with the Iran's exporting of its brand of Shia Islam across the Middle East and more. Saudi Arabia decided to invest in madrasas around the world, including in Pakistan, which you see a dramatic rise of number of madrasas in Pakistan funded by Saudi Arabia, had a huge impact. Like this is one of those factors that had a huge impact over Pakistan, which grew religious fundamentalism in Pakistan and in Afghanistan. Afghanistan was also impacted by Egypt, by the way, right? So that's geography was the same, but that was a major change in Pakistan. By the way, that's probably the same thing that is changing Malaysia. But let's look at some evidence for this and see Well, but I don't know if this is evidence. Just look at some suggestions of what it could potentially be. Let's look at this together. Oh, so I have to remove the question so we don't have to, so we don't block this. It says Wahhabism spreading among Malaysians elite. This is an article in 2017. It says, I don't know what this word is, but a religious official has alleged that Wahhabism is gaining a foothold within the elite of Malaysian society, right? So, like, one suggestion is that the same thing that affected Pakistan, which was the investment and the export of Wahhabist ideology from Saudi Arabia to Pakistan, what cursed Pakistan is exactly the same thing. Could be one of the major factors that is including Malaysia as well, right? And again, Malaysia itself is Shafi'i, but Wahhabism is is rooted in Hanbali, right? So these are competing schools of thought within Malaysia. You know, one of them is being exported from somewhere like Saudi Arabia to Malaysia, right? And again, I'm not saying by Saudi Arabia, I'm not talking about the government itself. Like, it used to be the government itself. Right now, the government itself is fighting this in Saudi Arabia, but there are still private, and there's still a lot of big money behind exporting ideas like this. By the way, it might be a lot less right now because Saudi Arabia's government right now is cracking down on stuff like that. But this already had an impact. Like, this is 2017. Over the past, I don't know, 40 or 20 years, the export of these ideas have had a major impact on countries like not just Malaysia, Indonesia as well. So maybe I don't know if it has impacted Malaysia more, but it might have. So this might explain. I'm not saying this explains it. I'm saying this might explain what you're asking here, right? So saying this guy, Muhfuz Muhammad, a committee member of the something Islamic School Religious Council, told FMT that areas in something Valley that were considered elite had become nests for the spread of Wahhabism, a school of thought that the Saudi royal family subscribes to and is often linked to the Islamic State terror organization. So you could search for this article and read the entire thing, but there was another article that I also found that was suggesting the same thing, but that was behind a paywall. But luckily, somebody had just copied paste the entire article on Facebook. So this was here's another article. It's saying the radicalization of Islam in Malaysia. This is someone else is saying Dr. Ahmad Fauz Abdul Hamid is ringing the alarm bell. Having studied political Islam for years, he says it is time to alert the authorities that Muslims here are surely but slowly becoming radicalized. Before the situation deteriorates further to what we see in Afghanistan and Pakistan, it is better that we take the necessary precautions and do whatever we need to do, whether it's to revamp of the school curriculum to correct the situation, he says. Oh, another thing you could look up is the fact that a lot of these Wahhabist ideology are like leaking into the school system, right? Like, I don't know if it mentions it here or not. And here, actually, look at this. And over the span of 30 years or so, he says the students who grew up, imbibing, I don't know that word, the Wahhabi Salafist oriented curriculum in schools. Okay, so look at this. The Salafist or Wahhabi oriented curriculum is affecting the school system in Malaysia. So this might explain a whole bunch of these attitudes are now in the workforce. So this has been happening in the past 30 years. Okay. And now those children have grown up and now they're in the workforce. And now Malaysia is seeing the effect of those kids entering, becoming adults and now changing how Malaysia does business. And some are in the civil services, some have become influential bureaucrats, scholar, academics, lawyers. So yeah, this is basically seeing the result of all that education investment by Saudi Arabia into exporting Wahhabism into Malaysia. Yeah, so I think this might explain it. I mean, again, none of this is for certain, but that's where I would go if you're more interested in this. That's where I would go do my research to see if that explains it. Let me know if let me know on Patreon if that was helpful. Okay, so let's go to the next question. Oh, somebody in the live chat saying, when are we doing the Kashmir debate? We might actually be doing it today if they show up. So we'll see if they show up or not. So because I'm ready to, yeah, I'll post a link I'll send the link to both of them after I answer the questions here, and see if they show up. If they don't show up, I'll try again. But it might be after I do the questions today. All right, so I think I answered that quite well, actually. All right, next question. Please talk about Mike Pence giving a speech to MEK. Give us your reaction to the MEK compound and his speech. Okay, so guys, if you guys don't know what the MEK is, MEK is a terror organization that is pretending to be a pro-secularist, pro-democratic institution. This is one of the main opposition groups to the current regime in Iran, and it's rebranding. It has been very effective at rebranding itself in the past couple of years. They were officially recognized as a terrorist group, but to get they used to be funded by Saddam, and they had operations that were very, very radical and crazy, but now, because they lost the funding from Saddam ever since Saddam was toppled, they were looking for alternative sources of funding, and they wanted to operate in other countries like, I don't know, in the United States, in France, in Albania. And to be legal, they managed to use a lot of the funds that they have to, to go and legally challenge their terrorist status, and they removed it. And now they have U.S. politicians in their pocket. Like, they pay Pompeo, Giuliani, John Bolton, and now they have reached a potential president of the United States, Mike Pence. I mean, potential, I say that very loosely, but that is crazy. That the fact that the MEK, so a lot of people might like them. I remember even Yasmin Mohammed, who didn't know who the head of MEK, Mariam Rajavi, she didn't know that this is a crazy organization that you shouldn't be supporting but people think that they are good and they are worthy of support just because they're in opposition to the Islamic Republic of Iran, right? They're not, okay? They might be even worse. And a lot of people are scared now. A lot of Iranians are scared now because it seems like the Americans have given up on all opposition groups and are putting all their investment, like they seeing the alternative to the mullahs right now in Iran. They're seeing the MEK as the alternative, and they have given up any hope for any other opposition group. And that fear has been amplified recently by a million because of the recent visit. Here, let me actually show you the videos. Is this a good video? Yeah, this might be a good video. It's crazy here. No, I don't want to put this one on idea here. The compounds and everything is actually beautiful and glorious. And these people have such a massive source. I don't know where they get the money from, because look at this. Just look at this. Okay. Well, I mean, actually, I have some. Well, we'll talk about the funding later because that's one of the questions. All right. So look at them. This is the opposition group that we're dealing with. Okay. So this is Mike Pence's visit to Mariam Rajavi. Mariam Rajavi is the head of the MEK. They don't call themselves the MEK. Everybody else calls them the MEK. They call themselves NCRI. but look at this. Look at this is their compound. Look at the way this is the Iranian flag. Look at all the I don't know how they do this. No other opposition group to the Islamic Republic of Iran has this level of, I don't know, access to funds and resources, and this level of infrastructure. That's the word I'm looking for. Okay. And that's why, but the thing is that the MEK doesn't have the support of the people in Iran. Like, people hate them, especially because they worked with Saddam in killing Iranian people. So that's why they consider them to be traitors, right? Even though they're against the mullahs, they still don't support them. However, all the other opposition groups have nothing. They have no infrastructure and they have no resources, and the MEK does. And they try to show it. They try to, like, they go out, they make a huge effort to show, you know, that they're very sophisticated in their efforts. And this is the show that they put on for MEK's visit. And this is in Albania, I assume. Yes. Wait, hold on. Where in Albania? MEK. I don't know where exactly. Yeah, this is their Albania camp. Okay, so that's their headquarters in Albania. Yeah. PK is like, from where they got this money. Well, that's one of the other questions. I will answer that. Look at this. I'm not playing the audio because it has music and I don't know if it's copyrighted. Look at all of this. This is Mike Pence. Mike Pence, look, oh my, people were like, we woke up one day and we saw pictures of Mike effing Pence next to Maryam Rajavi. We were like, what the hell? This is the highest official they managed to, because they got Giuliani, they got Bolton, they got who else did they got? Pompeo, they got all of that. And we were like, those are very impressive. Like, the other opposition groups don't get this high-ranking American officials to come to their compounds and talk to them. Like, and now they got Mike Pence. This is like so impressive. Even though they are like crazy and they're a cult and they're evil, it's very impressive that they managed to get Mike Pence, because that means they have a lot of money, because Mike Pence, like, they're paying them, right, for them to come speak here. So they have this museum here, and they have all their shohada, or all their martyrs, on the walls. Look at this museum that they have set up. And they're showing Mike Pompeo, like, they're showing like all the brutality that the Islamic Republic of Iran has done. Sorry, they're showing Pence that all the brutality that the Iranian regime has done to their people. And they're showing, like, they have this here on display. Look at that. And I don't know, they're lighting a can. Oh, look at this. And I didn't notice that. Look at, so that you see on the wall, it says 30,000. These are the 30,000 people that were executed by the Islamic Republic of Iran for being the member of MEK. This is one of the most ignored genocides in history that was done by the Islamic Republic of Iran, and it was done to MEK members. And they have that on the wall. I mean, the thing is that they have a lot of actual victimhood in their history for them to play. Like, the problem is, a lot of people are like, why are you attacking the MEK? Like, they were actually abused and killed. Like, that's actual real history. They're not lying about that. Okay. But we have to accept the fact that they are evil themselves, but they're also been wronged. And their members, I mean, their members are not evil. Their members have just been brainwashed. So we can't just like act like they deserved it. Like, we have to actually fight for their rights, and like this evil that was done to their members has to be highlighted. I mean, we could do that at the same time. We could at the same time say the heads of this organization are evil, but their members are poor victims who were also wronged by the Islamic Republic of Iran. This is not a contradiction. Hal 9000 in the live chat is saying, what is the ideology of the MEK? It's a mix of Marxism and Shia Islam. It's basically Shia Islam and Marxism marrying each other and giving a baby. That's MEK ideology. It's the scariest cult in the whole world, and you have no idea. Like, I could like speak about them for hours. Yeah. Wait, okay, what happens? Look at this. Okay, actually, let me see if I could play some audio here.
Tehran rule uprising for.
That's her. This is okay. So here's another thing. The MEK members worship this woman. Okay, it's not like she's not their leader. She is their goddess. Okay, and to them, she is Iran itself. Like one of their chants is like Maryam, Iran, Iran, Maryam. Like they don't want Iran without Maryam, and they're so sure that eventually they will be successful, and she will be the head of Iran. And they want to replace Ali Khamenei with this lady. Oh, hi guys. Somebody perfect Davo in the live chat saying you're talking so much trash. If Mike Pence is supporting MEK for money, then why he doesn't support Hezbollah? They don't have money? Question mark. Hezbollah is recognized as a terrorist group. They have been removed. They're not recognized internationally as a terrorist group. Obviously, Mike Pence would be in so much legal trouble if he got money from Hezbollah. Are you insane? What are you talking about? Somebody saying, isn't that haram, Shirk? I didn't mean literally, like effectively they're worshiping her. Like not like they don't. So for example, Shias, they technically they worship Hussein, but they don't claim like they worship Hussein. Oh my God, I think we have like a perfect dad was saying so much lies. Who worship Maryam Rajavi? The MEK people, they worship Maryam Rajavi. They are like, actually, this is good because Perfect Davo, I think, supports them. And you can see like this crazy lady, this Maryam Rajavi is a crazy, like she's insane. Like she's a cult leader, okay? But if I say that, he loses his mind. That's why he's defending him and her in the live chat. Yeah.
For change, we can and must free Iran, the Middle East.
Okay. Let me actually show you something else. To show you how. Oh, actually, let me show you what Mike Pence. Rajavi's 10. All right, let's look at actually the part where Mike Pence is speaking. Okay.
Your resistance units, commitment to democracy, human rights, and freedom for every citizen is a vision for a free Iran and an inspiration to the world. Maryam Rajavi's 10-point plan for the future of Iran will ensure the freedom of expression, the freedom of assembly, freedom for every Iranian to choose their elected leaders. And it's a foundation on which to build a future of a free Iran. The regime in Tehran wants to trick the world into believing that the Iranian protesters want to return to the dictatorship of the Shah as well. But I want to assure you, we're not confused by their lies. Today, we call on the Biden.
Okay, this video cut out the most important part. I don't know why they did that, but hold on. This was such an important part that they missed because. Oh, here. Okay. So there's a short version of it.
The regime in Tehran wants to trick the world into believing that the Iranian protesters
and then he asks the audience,
the dictatorship of the Shah as well. But I want to assure you, we're not confused by their lies. So let me ask you all right here, for all the world to hear. Do the Iranian people want to replace one dictator with another? Or do the Iranian people want to live in freedom and democracy for all the people of Iran?
Okay, and then again, this one also cut the most important part because then the whole audience rose up and they cheered, and that was so. You have to understand what's happening here. Okay, there are the two most important opposition groups to the Islamic Republic of Iran are well, actually, let's say there's three. Okay, there are the MEK, which has very little support in Iran, almost non-existent. It's like they're hated. They're hated by Iranian people. Okay, the MEK, they're hated by the Iranian people even more than the mullahs themselves. Okay, so that's one. The second one are the monarchists, the people who want the monarchy to come back, and they have Reza Pahlavi, the son of the former Shah in Iran. They're invested in him. They think that he could come back and he could become Shah again. He could become the king of Iran. That's the second one. And the third are the Republicans, the people, not American Republicans, the people who are in favor of a republic, not a monarchy, not MEK, who they see as a religious institution or cult, but people who want a secular democracy, not under any one person, but like a normal democracy, right? And they don't have anybody; they have nobody. So they are I think they are the highest in number, but they have the least amount of infrastructure or anyone to support as a leader, right? The people who want monarchy, they have Reza Shah, but Reza Shah is not very active. He's not very interested in becoming a political leader. There's no infrastructure. There's no resources. He doesn't have all this, glamour or all these people that are willing to die for him, like Mariam Rajavi has, right? These Mariam Rajavi people are like crazy, like they're insane. Okay, they used to light themselves on fire for her. Like I remember as a kid watching the news, and because Mariam Rajavi was arrested or something at some point, and people in support of her, they came in and they lit themselves on fire. That's how they supported her, like literally, like died to death. So that's the kind of supporters that she has. Okay, so given that us people who want a republic, we're like out of the picture. We have nobody. Okay, the main two, even though we're the highest in number, the main two alternatives as the main two opposition groups against the Islamic Republic of Iran are the monarchists and the MEK. Okay, and what Mike Pence just said to everybody here is that the monarchists are fake. Like the Iranian people don't want monarchy, even though a lot of them do. He claims that the support for the monarchy, the support for the king, the support for the Shah, bringing back the Shah, is a made up thing by the Islamic Republic itself to bring attention away from the popular support that the MEK has. That is like this is like so. First of all, that's insane. That's not true. It's so obviously that's the lies that the MEK is just feeding to him, so that he just repeats. But this pisses off a lot of Iranians, right? Especially the monarchists. Especially a lot of Iranians who hate the MEK, like what the hell? Like, is this what we have to look? This is actually might even strengthen the Islamic Republic of Iran, because a lot of people who want to topple the Islamic Republic might think like, holy crap, if we removed the mullahs, we have to look to the MEK to come in charge. And they're like, we don't want that. Like, maybe we shouldn't be toppling the regime at all. So this is like really strengthens the Islamic Republic's hands, right? But actually, let me show you a little bit more about the MEK so you guys know what kind of like crazy people. Hold on. Let me show you something. Let me remove this. All right, here we go. If you want to know a little bit more about these people. Well, actually, before I show you a little bit more, maybe I should show you the part where it was cut off, because I didn't show you this one because it's in Persian. Right?
People. So I came here today simply to say we stand unequivocally on the side of the Iranian people.
ما قاطعانه در کنار این وضعیت به خوبی سازماندهی شده حمایت
ندارد میرسد
به مردمش
رجبی
هست و شده.
Right. Here's the part that was cut. Here's the part because I want you to show like how happy Mariam Rajavi was with what he said.
تماما آماده و وضعیت کنونی، ولی یک آلترناتیو موجود هست، وجود داره.
Well organized,
به خوبی سازماندهی شده.
واقعیت مردم برخورد. پوشید از مردم کامل
شما اشرف سید هم اومدند
To your
و
people
امید
in Iran.
میبخشند به مردم شما در ایران.
Look at the uniforms. Like they have been. This is the standing ovation that he got when he said that. But like the every single woman, okay, the uniform of the MEK has the hijab, right? So they pretend like they would want to bring secular democracy, but their own. So first of all, they're neither all the values of democracy and secularism. They are against it, right? Their own uniform has the hijab. Everything about them is Islamic. They say that they want to bring religion back into politics. So they're not in favor of secular democracy because Maryam Rajavi herself says that we will bring the true version of Islam. She says that the Mullah's Islam was the wrong Islam. Their Islam is the true Islam, and they will bring back Islam to politics, which is violates secularism, right? And their uniform and everything includes the hijab. They don't tolerate any uniform within their ranks without the hijab. They don't tolerate that. So they are very, very, unsecular. Like they're not secularists. And also they don't tolerate any criticism of Maryam. Like Maryam, she's never available to be questioned. Anybody with a narrative against Maryam will be shut down, will be hunted down, and sometimes even eliminated, like in ways like, well, I'm not going to say right now, but so democracy is also not something that is not part of their value system. But look at this part, okay?
بود. یدالله کریمی پور میگوید غربی ها مایلند در منطقه خاورمیانه باشند تواند برای سر واقع شب متحده بزرگ تشنه شیعی را محور
Oh, here. So look, so for people who want to see this, look, this is their uniform. Like everywhere, the women they all have to wear scarves, usually red scarves, right? But look at the
نکرده و رو گداز میخوانند.
This is so what you're going to look at right now is them doing a song about Hussein, okay? And how he's a role model. And this is what we are used to seeing in Iran. So this just shows that they are also extremely Shia. Like this is part of their ideology.
نکته‌ای که قدری با قوانین سختگیرانه آخوندها درباره صدای زن تفاوت دارد، اما در واقع همان ایدئولوژی است.
بی امان میروم در راه تو، صف به صف جان به کف، ما همه خونخواه تو، ما همه خونخواه تو.
Look at the level of organization and everything. No other opposition has this. So this is a song in celebrating Hussein. See, they're saying, "Hey Hussein," they're talking to Hussein. They're telling Hussein that you showed us the way. You are the way. You are the light. You are whatever, like poetic stuff, right? So you guys know Hussein, right? Hussein is the most important figure in Shia Islam. Okay, they wouldn't admit this to you, but Hussein is more important than Allah. He's more important than Muhammad. He's more important than anything in Shia Islam. They would not say that, but if you understand Shia Islam, you would understand that this is technically how things are, even though they would never say that. Yeah, see the flags, all the flags are saying some of the flags are saying Hussein, the other flags have the symbol of the MEK. And if you actually notice the symbol of MEK, it has, look at it, it looks like the communists. Like, so this is so bizarre. Like you see Hussein next to a symbol that looks like a communist symbol, right? So I'm telling you, this is a merger between Shia Islam and Marxism. That's what I'm telling you. Look, I want to see. Do you see the flag? Do you see how it's has a sickle? Is that what it's called? Oh my God, it's not letting me show you. Hold on, let's just play the music while I find this. All right, here it is. Look at this. Sina is saying Hussein is basically the Shia version of Jesus. Yes, exactly. Look at this, guys. Is this not? This is Mujahideen al-Khalq Iran. This is the MEK. Look at their symbol. That's the communist symbol. Except they, okay, so the sickle is the same, okay? But they replaced the hammer with a gun. Yeah, so that's their ideology. Anyways. So it's just so bizarre to me. It's just so amazing that they have Hussein symbol, like Shia Islam, next to something that is supposed to come from communism. I thought, this is catchy though, isn't it? Do it with me, everybody. Do it with me.
درباره فایده مجاهدین برای غربی‌ها.
Never mind. All right. Let's go to the next question. It's catchy though. It's catchy. Oxymar is saying I like this. I like it too. Okay, seriously, one more time. One more time. I know they're crazy, okay? I know they're crazy, but this is pretty good.
میروم در راه تو صف به صف جان به کف ما همه خونخواه تو ما همه خونخواه تو نور تو شور تو نسل ما
You're supposed to hit yourself for the sake of Hussein.
از یقین عشقتین آن را کنده کرد آن را کنده کرد راه صدق و فدا تو نشانم دادی
So you're supposed to hit yourself because you're supposed to like in sadness for Hussein's martyrdom. He died like 1300 years ago, but we're like, you're supposed to still be, as a good Shia, you're supposed to be upset about it, and you're showing how upset you are about it by hitting yourself, okay? And sometimes, especially Shirazi Shias, they cut themselves, as a show of, being sad, as a symbol of sadness over Hussein's martyrdom. The sadder you are, the better Shia you are. Like, you have to learn to cry properly. So, it's crazy. Anyways, let's go to the next question. Okay, so the other questions are also related to MEK. I will answer the MEK related questions. Where does MEK get their funding? Do they just drain their members like others do, other cults? All right, so that has been a topic of, so for people who don't know what we're talking about or are new here, we're talking about MEK. MEK is one of the major opposition groups to the Islamic Republic of Iran against the mullahs. It's an Iranian cult. It's an Iranian terrorist group. Even though they're against the mullahs, they're not good. They're more evil than the mullahs, but arguably. And they are very effective at showing to the public, to people who don't know, who are outside of Iran, they're very effective at pretending like they are for secular democracy and they're peaceful, even though their history is even worse than the Islamic Republic of Iran, right? They're very, very dangerous cults, okay? So the question is that where do they get the, so yeah, by the way, guys, make sure that if you notice any MEKs like pretending like Iranian people, they have support in Iran, like call them out, say, like tell people that no, this is the MEK. Just because they're anti the Islamic Republic of Iran, that doesn't mean they're a good organization. You have to call them because they're very effective. They have so much funding and they're very effective on social media. And every time there's a protest in Iran, they jump on the bandwagon and they come in social media. They use the hashtags that are trending. And a lot of foreigners who don't know any better, who think they're supporting the Iranian people, end up supporting them. They retweet them. They highlight them. And the Iranian people are like, stop it. This is not us. Please stop it. This is the MEK. And a lot of foreigners who don't know, because they just see the buzzwords of, oh, secularism, democracy, freedom. They think like, oh, this is good. I support them. I'm supporting the Iranian people. Don't let them pretend like they're representing the Iranian people, because they're not. They're the least popular group in Iran, even less popular than the regime itself. Okay. So where do they get their funding? That has been a topic of major debate. So we, to some of it we know, some of it we don't know. Okay, we know when Saddam was around, he used to fund them. Saddam used to fund the MEK. Okay, and that and they use that funding as a way to attack Iranians. And that is one of the main reasons why Iranian people hate them. Okay, because they sided with because the MEK sided with Saddam. Okay, ever since the fall of Saddam, where did they get their money? We know they get some of it from their members, but a lot of people also say that they get their money from Saudi Arabia. Okay, how much of it's from their members? How much of it's from Saudi Arabia? Do they get their money from Saudi Arabia? Because they did themselves deny it, but a lot of people claim it. I don't know how strong of an evidence there is behind this. Okay, but if Saudi Arabia wanted to fund an organization against the Islamic Republic of Iran, I could see them going with the MEK. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. I wouldn't be, if there was evidence for it, I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, cool. Wait, so actually, let me post a link to whoever, any members who wants to try. I've been waiting. All right, I'm gonna post a link to my community tab for anybody who wants to come live on air. Just give me a second, because even though MEK is somebody saying, even though MEK is a terrorist cult, is it okay to cooperate with MEK for things like slowing down Iran's nuclear program? No, no, it's not okay at all, because the Islamic Republic of Iran wants the MEK to be the opposition, because they know that the Iranian people don't like the MEK. So if they are the opposition, they show the MEK as the alternative to them, to the Iranian people. So the Iranian people are like, oh my God, we shouldn't topple the regime, because if we topple the regime, the MEK will be the alternative, and we don't want that. So the MEK is the opposition group that the Islamic Republic of Iran wants. Okay. Let me see. I'm going to post a link to anybody who wants to come and talk to me live on air. Well, today, because we have this MEK supporter, I'm going to post it publicly for just a little bit. If he wants to come and talk, ask your questions live on air. Just for a while, I'm just going to do a public version, but then I'll go and just do members only after a while. Yeah, exactly. Sina saying, no, you don't work with crazy. All right. And okay, here's another question. What will it take for other oppositions to have the same structure, acclaim and political respect as MEK? A lot of funding, a lot of and lack of infighting, because all other here's the pros of having a cult is that you have less infighting. The other opposition groups, as soon as they get even a little bit successful, they turn on each other and they fight and they get divided, right? So a lot of other groups who are funding them realize that they shouldn't be funding them, because as soon as there is even a little bit of success, the unity in that group is destroyed, right? So maybe like lack of infighting would be key, but I don't think it's ever going to happen. Well, actually, I don't know. I never say. I don't want to say ever. So maybe it will, because there needs to be a coalition. Maybe if the MEK becomes more popular, people would be like, okay, we need to get our, crap together, because look at how like after 40 years, all the other opposition groups have nothing to show. They are very disorganized. They constantly fight with each other, and they waste resources, and people have given up on them, right? Maybe the MEK growing a little bit and will become so embarrassing to them as for the fact that there's such a lack of alternative, they will unite all the other opposition groups into building a coalition. Maybe, I don't know. That's a huge maybe. That's a huge maybe. Okay, so that guy that wanted to come, the perfect Dava guy who wanted to come and fight with me, he said, like, if you, he wanted to come fight with me, he didn't come here. You look, this guy, this is a MEK supporter. He says, you are a great liar. Share a link if you are not lying. Well, it's on the community tab. So where are you now? Yeah, I'll post it in the live chat if you're too lazy to go check out the community tab. Well, there we go. So, sure. All right, let's go to next question. Ooh, this is a big question. All right. So creationism slayer 3000 is asking, I listened to you earlier to your earlier podcast about abortion in Islam, and after the decision by the court in the USA to overturn Roe versus Wade, I have seen a lot of leftists singing the praises of Islam because it kind of allows abortion. Why does, well, it does and it doesn't. Depends on the school of thought you look into. And it also depends on what you mean by Allah, because it sometimes, you know, it's more lenient than some Christians. But okay, I actually have a response to that. The question continues, why does the left seem to be so uncritical of Islam on the topic of abortion? It may not be as harsh as Western Christianity, but the woman still needs a man's permission, which causes a whole other list of problems. I don't know if it's actually less less harsh than Christianity, okay? Because there's certain sects of Islam that is as harsh as the harshest level of Christianity, okay? But there's certain sects that is not as harsh, but also Christianity also has sects that is not as harsh. Like there are many Christian preachers who are saying like they're okay, you know, well, with the right to choose. So it's not like all of Christianity that is like completely anti-abortion. I mean, the Bible is for abortion. The Bible has recipes for abortion. But so, I mean, some Christians point to that and we're like, well, apparently abortion is okay. So it's not all of Christianity that is this anti, you know. So based on that standard, so some Christians are completely against any form of abortion, and some Christians have certain conditions, and some Christians are okay with abortion. And it's the same thing with Islam. So you cannot compare the most lenient parts of Islam with the harshest part of Christianity. I think that's a very unfair, you know. Actually, let's see. Abortion in Islam. Wiki. Let's take a look together. Oh, that perfect Dabo guy didn't show up, eh? Look at that. I shared the link and he disappeared. He like shared the link. Come debate me if you can. Okay, so here. Let me remove this. So, oh, he's here. Oh no, that's Eben Khan. Hey. All right, we're reading Eben Khan. We're reading about abortion. It says Muslim views on abortions are shaped by hadith as well as by options of legal and religious scholars and commentators. The Quran does not directly address intentional abortion, leaving greater discretion to the laws of individual countries. So the Bible doesn't do that. I mean, the Bible technically allows abortion. So because it just tells you like drink this and get rid of a baby in certain situations. So anyways, although opinions among Islamic scholars differ over when a pregnancy can be terminated, there are no explicit prohibitions on women's rights to abort under Islamic law. Okay, so here there's schools. There are 4 Sunni Islamic schools of thought: Hanafi, Shafi'i, Hanbali, and Maliki, and they have their own reservations on if and when abortions can happen in Islam. The Maliki madhab holds that the fetus is ensouled at the moment of conception. So the Maliki is saying at the moment of conception, and thus most Malikis do not permit abortion at any point, seeing God's hand as actively forming the fetus at every stage of development. On the other hand, some Hanafi scholars believe some Hanafi scholars believe that abortion before the 120-day period is over is permitted, though some Hanafi scholars teach that an abortion within 120 days is makruh or disapproved. Abortion is recommended in any time where the mother's life is in danger. The mother life is paramount in the decision. The mother's life. This is a mistype. Anyway, so you can see there's disagreement in Islam. However, there's also disagreement in Christianity. So that's not a fair critique. Okay, so Ibn Qayyim can't make it today. So we're not going to have a Kashmir debate. So we could have it another time, right? But anyways, let me see. So the question is so again, it's not fair to say that Islam is better in abortion than in Christianity. But the question is, why does the left seem to be so uncritical of Islam? I don't think that's fair. I mean, you can't generalize the entire left. I think there has been a lot of progress made. Like there are a lot of leftists, not just liberal, but actual leftists who have been recently a lot more critical of Islam. I don't want to generalize. There are some people who are less critical of Islam unfairly, but I don't think we can generalize that to the entirety of the left. But I mean, should I even answer that question? I think we know the answer to that question. The answer is we have been answering that for a very long time. There's some portion, not all of the left. There's a certain sector of the left that confuses something that the left is good at, which is defending minorities and people who need support and protection. They confuse that with protecting their ideology, right? Again, not all of the left, but there are certain elements within left that, because again, this is something good about the left. Something that the left does well is protecting minorities and minority groups, and it has a good history, a long history of doing that very well. But there are some fringe elements within the left that can't understand that doesn't mean that we should be protecting every single idea that comes out of these minorities. We could protect people. We don't necessarily have to protect their ideas in the name of protecting those people. Okay. Somebody. Hey, Satya.
Hello. Can you
Hello.
hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so I had to debate it on Kashmir on Oxymoron's part, but since the debate is now cancelled, I thought I might just try StreamYard out. And I had a question for you too.
Okay.
A quick question: do you believe in guilt by association?
Do I believe in guilt? No, that's a logical fallacy.
Okay, so I'm not a Robert Spencer fan. I rarely follow his content. I just follow him on Twitter, so sometimes I just see what feuds he has gotten into. And Harry Sultan was saying that it's just because he talks with these Hindutva people, so he's a bigot somehow. And I know that Abdullah Samir and other ex-Muslims have said that he's a bigot, but I don't know why they have said it, and I have not gotten into the research I've not done proper research to see why they have said it. And that Harry Sultan was saying that he doesn't believe that Robert Spencer is a bigot just because Abdullah Samir says it, but because he he has started sitting with these Hindutva people, so he's a bigot. So I don't understand that logic.
I think you're misrepresenting them. I don't think that, because I've said with Hindutva. I've talked to Hindutva.
Yes.
I have Hindutva fans. Okay, even now, I still have Hindutva fans, right? But
maybe
but
maybe I haven't
but
gotten like
Yeah,
the exact gist
Harris
of
Sultan,
Harris's arguments.
yeah. So Harris Sultan doesn't think I'm a bigot. I hope not. But I think what they're noticing is a double standard and a hypocrisy in holding one group
Criticism.
responsible in criticism, like in certain behaviors, or like endorsing certain tactics endorsing questionable tactics by a group in their opposition, and also um, noticing that the blurry lines between attacking Islam or just attacking Muslims as a whole. You know what I mean? There are certain language that certain people use that it starts with criticizing Islam, but it ends with doing guilt by association to Muslims, as you know what I mean. So you yourself agree that guilt by association is a logic fallacy, right? And it's
Yes.
but it seems like there's certain people, when you listen to the way they talk about Islam, they're not always talking about Islam. They're talking about Muslims as a whole, and holding them responsible by association with Islam, and that's what makes them think that these people might be bigots.
Oh, and what do you think about like some YouTubers like Sham Sharma and Kushal Mehra? Like they are their first principles are all right, and still they like are on the Hindutva side. Like I'm also on the Hindutva side. Like I won't deny that, but like
I, I
yeah,
don't
what do you think
I
about them?
don't I don't think I don't think that everybody who's Hindutva is a bigot. Okay.
Oh,
I don't think so. I think, okay. So for example, I think like there's certain ideologies that are bigoted, but not everybody that is within that ideology
endorsing.
would be a bigot because they're associated with it. So for example, I think that Islam is anti-woman, is
Yes.
misogynist, right? But I don't think every Muslim is a misogynist, right? So in the same way, I believe the Hindutva ideology, okay, is bigoted, okay, but that I don't think like a Hindutva is necessarily a bigot. I just think like maybe my understanding of what Hindutva is about and their understanding of what Hindutva is about is different, and that's why. So that difference of opinion allows for the fact that that person is not a bigot himself. You know what I mean? So, for example, I think Islam is misogynist, right? But a Muslim can be endorsing Islam, but not be a misogynist themselves, because their understanding of Islam is different from my understanding of Islam. They have a different interpretation of what Islam stands for. So they don't think Islam is like anti-woman. So therefore, their endorsement of Islam doesn't necessarily mean that they're anti-woman themselves. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, yes. I was just trying out the guilt by association thing here. That I was trying to judge you by your response. So like I was
No.
just trying a kind of a mind game.
Yeah. But does that okay? So how did I do in the mind game?
You passed.
I passed. Okay, well, tell me what is, so you're Hindutva and I'm against Hindutva ideology. Okay,
Yes.
can you tell me a little bit about my misunderstandings? Like, do you know? I don't know if you're familiar. Like, can you tell me what is Hindutva and why it's a good thing?
Okay, so like if you ask me why I support Hindutva, I just support it because it's like the best in the market right now. If there was like a party with enlightenment values and a tinge of like Hinduism as a culture, like not as a religion, but like Hinduism as a culture, then I would have supported it. But right now, because either if I vote for the Congress party, then they will come in coalition with all these radical lefties, and they have like policies, very dangerous policies like there was something like giving women 50% reservation in private sector, which would just make it like South Africa, ruin the economy in
Mhm.
one hit, and other very
So,
very
so,
like
so what's
economically
what's
leftist
the problem?
policies.
Okay. So you're saying that Hindutva ideology is bad, but
Ah,
compared to
no,
the
no, no.
alternative, okay. So what are
Okay,
some
so
yeah, go.
I more agree more with the enlightenment values, but like after that, like my first priority is the enlightenment values, which I will not get in India. So like say at the second place comes Hindutva, and like I like Hindutva like because of two reasons. Like first one being that it like brings India closer to the like the culture which like I really like, and which was like always trashed upon by the left in India, which was like in power for so many years.
But enlightenment values include secularism, and the Hindutva's goal is to use Hinduism as a way to make Hinduism the dominant culture and policy in India.
Like making making one culture the dominant culture in a country is like against enlightenment values.
If it's a religion, yes.
But like that might apply to like other religions, but in Hinduism, like Hinduism is a very broad term. Like we could like get every belief in God, everything out of it, and just keep like the festivals and the like symbols and everything. Like in Japan, you see the culture of samurais and the Shinto culture. That can be like the culture without the gods being there.
Yeah, you know what? If I support that move, but that shouldn't be done by the government. That should be done by people. Like governments shouldn't get involved in people's religious ideology. That's you're saying, yeah. You know what? You want to secularize Hinduism. I
Yes.
support that. Okay, I don't support
Yes.
reforming religion. I do support secularizing religion. We could discuss the difference between those two another time, right? What you described is secularizing certain religious tradition. That's a really good thing. Okay, but
Yes.
that's our business. That's my business and your business.
Yes.
That's not a government's business.
But like when the government is power,
And also,
okay.
as we're speaking right now, okay, that's not how that is. Hinduism is a religious ideology. Okay, it involves. I know it's a big umbrella, but it involves, using divinity, using the supernatural beliefs of people, as a way to come up with a guide to how to live life. Okay, that is something that every government should stay out of completely, and that's what we call secularism. And you're saying your main priority is enlightenment values. One of the most important enlightenment values is secularism, something that Hindutva is completely betraying.
But like the Modi government has not tried to like impose any section of the the Hindu religious values on the people. Like show me one
Well,
move.
the Modi, I mean, they do support institutions and organizations and people and politicians who are trying to do that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Also, yes, okay, and also what they also do is hold. They're also supporting institutions and organizations and people who are demonizing a sect of India for the religion that they have.
Okay, so I don't think they are supporting them. I think they are just staying mum on that.
I mean, come on. They are putting them in power. They're endorsing them. They are,
Okay, so
they're
like
climbing up the rank.
I will tell you what happened in Gujarat. So like the VHP and Bajrang Dal. You know that Sangh Parivar is like a very big umbrella of families that have the Hindutva ideology, and they all function in
Okay.
different ways. And there is a Muslim Munch, which means like the Muslim stage of the RSS, which is like against Uniform Civil Code, which is like the core of the Hindutva movement right now.
Wait,
So like
so
there is
there's a Muslim section of the RSS that is against the
yes,
uniform code, and the Hindutva
yes,
is for the uniform code.
yes.
Okay, so what's the point?
So like I'm trying to tell you that RSS itself has many like branches. Like I'm not very sure about the like on the uh, Uniform Civil Code bit, but I definitely remember like seeing that they were for like some hardcore Islamist practices. And one of my friends told me that UCC this oppose UCC. So like I'll check that. I'll check that after I'm down in the
But this
stream. And
doesn't negate anything I said.
oh no. I'm just I'm just like providing a correction to what I earlier
wait.
said, and now I'm proceeding to
Just
my
a second.
point.
Perfect Davo. You said you have to go. But I'd like to debate you about MK. Okay, Perfect Davo has to go. I wanted to talk to him after you. But send me an email at armin.navabi@gmail.com and we will have a discussion. Perfect Davo, send me an email and we will debate this. But yeah, go on. Sorry.
Okay, so like there were these two organizations which were like really militant in their nature, Bajrang Dal and VHP. And Modi was the one who has taken away all the street power from the Hindu factions, or like the Hindus had street power, Muslims had street power. He took away like the Muslim street power, and they deliberately took away the Hindu street power. And the leader Praveen Togadia, who was like the king of Hindu street power in Gujarat, like he's
Okay.
not famous anymore.
Somebody in the live chat from India
Yes,
is
somebody please
confused.
confirm it.
Ayan is saying that what the F Muslim section of RSS. So they're saying they're confused by what you're saying. They're saying they kind of suggesting that there is no Muslim section of the RSS.
There is, man.
There is.
Yes, Muslim Rashtriya Manch.
By the way, this is not very uncommon for far right
Yes,
groups
that's
that
what I'm
they
telling you.
have.
No,
Yeah,
that
I
was
know
an
that.
example to show the diversity inside the RSS.
No, but like historically, far right groups, they do have token minorities as part of their organization. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Like you're trying to say that even the like I'm not comparing the two ideologies, but like Hitler had some like Jewish people around him. You're
Yes.
comparing it. Okay. Okay. So it might be true. Like I haven't done a lot of research on it, but that might be true. I agree. It might be true. But I'm trying to tell you that Modi was the one who ended the Hindu street power in Gujarat. Like there are many faces to it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes,
So
I know that. I know there's. Okay, I understand. This is okay. We're talking about India. Okay, India
yes.
has there's multiple faces to everything, including their gods. I'm
Yes.
literally right.
That's
I
true.
understand that. I understand that, but I'm just saying that that doesn't negate what we said about, like, you agreed what we said about the problems that I mentioned about Hindutva, the fact that this
Yes.
is an ideology that is challenging India's secularism. India's secularism is very valuable. Okay, it's what sets
I know.
us apart from its neighbors, right?
I
So
know.
I think it's India's secularism is worth defending.
It
If
is,
India
but like
loses if India loses a secularism, it's the biggest blow to secularism worldwide, right? And
yes, I
they
agree.
and the BJP is challenging that. So
No, like
the greatest force against secularism in the world right now is the BJP.
okay, so like when you said that they are empowering like some of the radical Hindutva groups, what I'm saying is they are not empowering them directly. They are just looking the other way, and they are also looking the other way from like hardcore Muslim organizations. Like I that is the
Yeah,
criticism I have for the BJP. Like they look away from
they're doing
from both
okay. They're
Hindu
doing it.
extremism and
I
Muslim
mean, okay.
extremism.
I think a lot of people. I think you would agree that a lot of people would agree that they're doing a lot more than just looking away. Like
Like
like under Modi, under the BJP, there's a rise of Hindutva and Hindu radicalism under this regime.
it might be that there is a rise of Hindu like extremist Hindutva, but there is also a rise of like real secular principles like which were not in India before. There was also only the definition like there was only the secularism which was skewed to one side, and now like after Modi there is like real secularism too.
Like
Like there
what?
is
Like
rise of like,
the uniform code? The
yes,
push for that? Okay, so
yep,
the problem is that the uniform code before Modi was was a force for secularism, right? But
yes,
now some people, again, you could correct me if I'm wrong. Some people are suggesting now it's turning into a different thing. Now it might be turning into a way to not create a secular uniform code, but to create a Hindu uniform code,
okay,
using
so like
Hinduism as a model to introduce a culture for the entirety of India.
okay, so like if Modi does anything Hindu about like the Uniform Civil Code, I doubt it is going to be one marriage, which is like a Hindu value, like a imaginary Hindu value. Before this, there were like two Hindu systems of law, Mitakshara and Dayabhag, and they have both been almost established under the Indian law. The Hindu Code Bill has been secularized by like Nehru, by
Yeah,
people like Nehru and
no,
Ambedkar.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that uniform code would be mostly as a way to challenge Muslim way of living, and a lot of it justifiably so, than looking at Hindu way of living. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like the Hindu
okay,
way of living, the Hindu laws would be like kind of like scratched a little bit. They're like, oh, we can't do this anymore. I mean, like some people
okay,
will cry about it, but it's like, but then the Muslim way of life, it would be like, or the laws that they have, it would be like completely like 90% removed, right? But
yes,
every
okay,
time we point out, like, oh my God, so this uniform code is actually being more as a way to enforce certain rules on Muslims and to Hindus. People are like, no, look, we're also challenging Hindus over here. We're removing this and that, but it's going to be very insignificant. You know what I mean? Like, it's not
okay.
going to be like,
I agree.
for example, if there's a uniform code, would I be able to go blaspheme against goddesses in India? I mean, like, I don't think the BJP is going to be like, okay, all this FIRs, for example, against somebody like me, they're illegal now in India. I don't think
Okay,
that's what's going to happen.
so Like even if you blaspheme, you will not be tried under the civil code. You will be tried under the criminal code. So that's a different matter. And the second
Oh,
thing
okay.
is like the
True.
okay. So the Hindu way of life was challenged 70 years ago only.
What?
People at that point of time before independence Hindus used to have 2 or 3 wives like together.
Right.
Just search Ram
Yeah.
Jethmalani and you will
Okay.
know
So
that
these
he's
are.
a very prominent lawyer. He had 2 wives. He still has he has died, but his 2 wives are alive right now.
You know what? Because Islam is such a horrible way of life that
Yes.
it's hard. It's gonna. That when the BGP comes, like if they're successful and they come down on all of these Islamic ways of life, it's going to be hard not to support that as secularists because we're
Yes,
gonna be like,
that's
yeah,
what I'm
this is all
saying.
horrible.
Plus,
But
that was the second
yeah.
point. And the third point is I'm all for like replacing bad cultures with good culture. I'm not against the people. You know that. Like I think you know that I'm not against the Muslim people. But like if the
Right.
Muslim civil code is bad and the Hindu civil code is less bad, which is like Hindu civil code is not less bad, it is like almost near the Western standards. But like if they are replacing something which is indeed Western but just has the name Hindu, and sorry, I flipped the two. They are replacing something which is like Sharia-based laws in civil cases and replacing it with something which is Western in nature and Hindu by name. When that I think that's a good move.
Okay, yeah, that would be a good move if it happens the way you're describing it, maybe. Okay, but what I'm saying is that that's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is that the radicals from the Hindu side kind of need the radicals from the Muslim side, right?
I agree.
So what they do is that instead of they point rightfully so to like a lot of Islamic laws and practices that are problematic, okay? But they use that as a way not to try to make Muslim lives better. They use that as a way to demonize Muslims, right? I mean, in India, make them feel like second grade,
Agreed.
citizens. Like not, they
Some
don't
do.
feel like they don't feel like India is their country anymore. Okay,
Yes, some do. Agreed.
and then they ostracize them, and then what will happen is that this ostracization and demonization and otherization will make Muslims to create a nation within a nation and become even more radicalized. Like they will, like India will be gut itself from within, right? And
Again.
not only so, instead of actually helping Muslims, you're radicalizing them more, and the radicalization of Muslims will radicalize Hindus. You know what I mean? And the
Yes.
radicalization of Hindus will radicalize Muslims, and this will be a
Okay. Like a
circle of
cycle.
radicalization. Cycle,
Yes.
yeah, that would keep going.
Like
So
when
that's
you
the
said
problem.
that there will be a nation within like a nation within a nation, I said again because like it has been divided further like earlier in 1947. But the thing
Yes.
is like if BJP wants to demonize Muslims, it can do even if the Congress has brought in the UCC. They just have to like sit back. There is definitely going to be a reaction, and all they have to do is like just get on TV and shout that look what these people are doing. Like it doesn't matter who brings in the UCC. If the BJP wants to do that, I don't like. I think some factions want and some don't do. But if it wants to do that, it will be able to do that regardless of who brings in the UCC.
I
You get
have
that?
a quick. Say that again. I don't. You say it again one more time. Sorry.
Like the whole thing.
Yeah. No, last part.
Uh, if the BJP wants to like show Muslims in a bad light after bringing in the UCC, then it can even do that like if Congress was in power and it brought in the UCC, because there will definitely be a reaction to the UCC, which will be like violent protests all over India. And
Okay,
I think
but I have a question then. Why, for example, why doesn't the BJP come out and call out all their members that have, and all the people within Hindutva and RSS that have been so not anti-Islam but anti-Muslim?
yes, I think there is a certain faction like I'm not a BJP, like even if I'm a BJP member there are 17 crore members, but I am not a BJP member, so I don't know what the internal functionings are, but I think there is a faction that wants to play identity politics by showing some Muslims in bad light, and there is a majority factions which looks at the caste equations these people bring in and the regional
For
equations
example,
these people bring in, and
so a
because they are
member,
so much
a very important member of the BJP, for example, is Yogi Adityanath. How do you say
yes,
that?
Yogi Adityanath.
Okay, so this is a person. This is a member, a high-ranking member of the BJP. Okay, so
Yep.
you're saying like, oh, they do. You're like, oh no, they're not supporting this radicalism. He is a radical himself. He has called for genocide against Muslims.
Like, did he do that?
Yeah.
Okay, so for like that's what my second point was. Like, I don't think Yogi is that radical of a Muslim compared to that radical of a Hindu compared to his other peers, but I might check that out. But
Not
that's
that
the
much of
point.
a radical.
They bring in like some caste equations, some regional equations, and they bring in a lot of votes with them. Like the BJP at the top, to
Okay,
ignore these leaders and kick them out, like
not
it will
only
be
the
very bad for
BJP,
them.
so not only BJP is supporting radicals, the BJP has radicals, and they
BJP.
don't call them out. They don't call them out. They continue
Yes.
supporting them. Yeah. So what? So okay. So you're saying you're supporting Hindutva. You're not supporting BJP necessarily. Isn't this
Kinda,
Yogi guy?
yes.
Okay. Isn't the Yogi thing guy a Hindutva member as well?
Yogi is not a member of the RSS. Yogi has never been in the RSS.
No,
He
it
like
says
is
Yogi. I'm reading early political career. Yogi belongs to a specific tradition of Hindutva politics in Uttar
yes,
Pradesh.
he agrees with
Then
Hindutva, like, but he is not from RSS.
he's not
Like
from
there are many
RSS.
Hindutva. No, he's not
This-
from RSS.
Let me see. It says despite his periodic revolts, Yogi has been kept in good humor by the RSS and BJP leaders. The
Yep.
deputy prime minister. Okay, so the RSS chief and the VHP chief have visited him in Gorakhpur
Gorakhpur.
during December 26th. Yogi organized a 3-day. Okay, so yeah, there seem to be so you have, and this is one of the most high-ranking ones. Like the Hindutva and RSS is filled with people like this. Like you have to admit, like you can't
Not
deny
filled.
that this is
No, man, they're
not
not
filled?
filled with people like this. They are like a very loud, very loud
Wouldn't you?
minority.
Okay. So this person has a lot of support. You're saying that the
Yes,
circle
he has
of
a lot of
support
support.
by. Okay, so you're saying if I ask most Hindutva members in India, most Hindutva people in India, or most RSS members in India, what do they think about Yogi? Would they not
Yes.
support him? Would they not like? They would be
Okay,
like, oh
so-
no, that guy is like a bigot. We don't support him. We love
Okay, so,
Muslims. This
like,
guy is
I'll tell
calling
you.
for genocide for Muslims. We don't support him. Are you honestly suggesting that that's the
Okay, so,
response
like,
I would get?
I'll tell
Yeah.
you what I think about him, and then I think I will tell you, like, I will try to tell you what other people might think about him. So I think like he has done some things in law and order which are like really good. He has really improved the condition of Uttar Pradesh in law and order. But I don't support his.
So did Hitler. Like this is not an endorsement. Like you could have bigots that are good at managing things and doing law and order, and like they build a lot of infrastructure. Like like you could say that about like some very Stalin did so a lot of Stalin built a whole bunch of factories. Like I mean, like he was good at infrastructure.
Yes, that's what I'm
Yeah.
getting at. Like I'm really a fan of like, but thing is, he has made like lives of people on the ground better. Point number one. Like, and the disagreement I have is I don't support this like bulldozer thing, because that's not something you can do. You cannot just take out a bulldozer out of your yard and just say that, oh, he has committed a crime, let's go and demolish his house. So I don't agree with them on the bulldozer part, but and some of the fiery speeches.
So
like
you're saying, okay, so for people who don't know, he's a person that supports collective punishment of Muslims by bulldozing their house without due process.
No, that's wrong. That's wrong, man. That's wrong. He
What are you
doesn't
saying?
punish them collectively. Like, he punishes them in a way which is like against the morals of the law. What he does is like he will like catch
Without
the
due
people
process. So
without due
basically,
process. Exactly.
without due process,
The
he
people who
punishes
have
Muslims.
committed, yes,
Yeah.
the people who have committed wrong, like bad stuff, like crime, he will
You
catch
don't
them.
know. No. You don't know if they committed a crime because there was no due process. You have
No. I know, because like it's in the camera and everything. Still, I think there should be due process followed. So like he cannot like instantly make an encounter happen just because like they are criminals. So like he hands them to the law. The courts will decide on that, and then he goes to their house. He bulldozes them, and the thing is, he bulldozes some Hindu houses too. Like, it's not a Muslim exclusive thing. He does it on Hindus too and Muslims too. But still, that's wrong. That's wrong.
So that your defense. So he's like.
No, I'm not defending it. I'm not defending
okay,
it.
he's bad, but not that bad because he
Yes.
also bulldozes some Hindu houses without due process. So that makes him less bad.
No, like Like I'm telling you the scale of the bad deeds he's doing. Like you are
Right.
like increasing it, and I'm saying it no. It's like you're saying it's somewhere around 75. I'm saying no, it's somewhere around 65. But still, I don't agree with the bulldozer model. But like he has affected like made lives positive on of the people on the ground. And the thing about hate speeches is like at that point of time, hate speeches were very, very, very common in India. They were not something like very rare that only like. Uh, Only like really
Let
bad people will give hate speeches. So like that is not a very good standard for deciding who is good or bad. That's the point too. There was like
let's
a
see what
clip, sir.
let's see what the friendly Muslim. We have a friendly Muslim here. Let's see. Let him get involved as well.
Hello all. Thank you for taking me on. I just the whole bulldozing thing, and I just wanted to understand your thinking behind this. So let's just say,
Mine or Armin's.
there's a family of three of us, and my
I'm saying
sister.
mine, my thinking or Armin's thinking.
Just the general philosophy of it. So my sister, for example, goes out and she protests, and she happens to commit a crime that I'm not aware of. Should I then have my house bulldozed because I live in
No,
that house also?
no.
So
Like
you
I
should
said that
really be
no.
against all types of bulldozing for Hindus also. I mean,
Like
can't you
I
build
am against
prison?
that.
Can't,
Like I am
okay,
against that, man. I said it.
completely.
Like 100%.
Okay, all right, cool. Second of all, in terms of eating cow and beef in parts of India, are you for that or against that for non-Muslims, non-Hindus?
Okay, so like I'm a bit confused on that. Ideally, I think they should be allowed. I don't think like I would not support like if there is a referendum, I would either abstain or like I will go and vote for like allowing them. But if I have to vote for like not allowing them, the left has to really push me to it like at that moment. Like because like I've seen many people on the internet who think like who have like one way of thinking, but I don't know why incidents change my way of thinking for some period of time, and then I come back to my normal. So yes, I think they should be allowed. Like I think they should be allowed, but I still don't know what the implications of that would be. So I will like to be like undecided on that
Okay,
because
so
like the law and order in India is really bad. So if even if they make it legal and the policing system is not there, then like you know what will happen.
so do you think it's really a policing system problem that the police
Yes,
are, because I've seen some police officers being treated really badly by even Hindus, not Muslims necessarily, but Hindus sort of going up on a police officer saying, "Look, get out of here! You don't know what you're doing." And
yes,
I saw one where he was in tears,
that's a
basically.
police problem. That's a police problem. Like police problem, I means like the inefficiency and the disability of the police to do anything because of low numbers, bad equipment, and inability to enforce law and order, things like those.
Okay, so you do have a law and order problem in the
Like a
country.
very big law and order problem.
Considering the economic power that India can have, do you think that
Yes,
should be an issue?
law and order.
Yeah, I mean the amount of resources and the amount of money that India can generate, shouldn't there be an
Okay,
input
so
on law and order?
so my answer to this is that when you look for the competition between the nations, like for India versus Pakistan or India versus Afghanistan or like India versus Canada, at that point of time GDP comes into play. Agreed. But like when you're taking a look at law and order things and everything, well, at that point of time you should look at GDP per capita because the GDP per capita is so low that the state simply cannot afford, or if it can afford, then it is too busy with socialist schemes like giving away loan waivers and everything. So it doesn't have the funds to like hire proper police personnel, give them proper equipments and proper training and things like these. So India does have a very big law and order problem.
Wait, when you said like if we make eating cow meat legal, you said the consequences would be so high. What do you mean? What would happen?
uh, even when even when it is illegal, like there are cow vigilante groups and some groups like that.
Yes. So you're
So
you're you're think like you think if it was the places where it's illegal, because some places it's legal, some places it's not legal, right? You're saying the
yes,
places where it's illegal, if it becomes
legal,
the place
legal.
illegal, there will be chaos because people will take the law into their hands.
Yes, definitely. But
What are
I'm not
what
saying
is your
all
own
people. Some
what is your
people
what is your own personal view about eating cow meat? Like you think
like
that's
ultimately, like the ultimate India I see, I think it should be allowed. Because
You
if I
think
say that
you're
it should not be allowed, then I don't think I will be able to differentiate myself from the radical Islamist who says that pork should be banned.
you think you think like it's moral to eat cow meat?
Like moral, taking if you take
Personal?
away the environment part, then I think it
No, no,
should
no.
be moral.
More that okay, no, like relative to like I don't know,
I personally
pork
wouldn't do
meat.
that, man. I personally
Like
wouldn't do that.
like you think eating cow is worse than eating pork?
No.
Oh, okay.
But growing up in India, like in heartland, like in the not in the heart, but in the liver, like in India, where it's banned, you have grown such affection to the cow. Like even if it's on the street, you are taught to like go and give the cow something to eat, and the emotional affection you develop with that cow is like next level. So I personally would not do that.
Yeah, I mean, if you give me a piglet to raise, I will never be able to eat that pig, but I would be able
Yes.
to eat other pig. I would just eat. I wouldn't eat the pig that I named and raised, and it grew up with me. You know, the cute one that
Yes.
I raised. I wouldn't eat that one, but I would go eat the other ones.
Okay, so but what if like you used to live in a place where there were pigs all around, and you like while growing up you sort of developed like a special pity towards all the pigs, and then you
Yeah,
could eat either animals, but not eat
then
pig while saying
yeah,
that
I
others should
wouldn't.
be allowed to eat it.
No, I wouldn't eat them, but other people can eat them.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, freedom of nutrition should be there essentially. You know, I know there's an
Yes.
emotional attachment. I mean, if I had a dog, I wouldn't eat Fluffy, but you know, you never, yeah. But it might be a case that people. Okay, fine. Where do you stand on these Hindu Vata pop? You know, where there's songs, you know, telling Muslims to leave India and they should go to Pakistan and things like that. That was covered a couple of weeks ago.
They
Where do you
they are
stand on that
bad.
sort of songs?
Okay, they are bad. They should be trashed. They should be made fun of, but they should not be banned.
You know what you remind me of. You know, you support Hindutva, okay, but then you say like you think like yeah, Muslims are being wrong, and these Hindutva members who have these views about Muslims, you don't support them, and yes, you agree that
Like
Muslims are being
I
ostracized.
never
But
said Muslims are wrong. I never said Muslims are wrong.
oh, really? They're not wronged in India, Muslims?
Wronged. I'm not saying Muslims are wronged. Like in general, Muslims are not
No,
wronged.
no,
Some
not
Muslims are
wrong.
wronged.
Wronged.
Okay,
As
GED.
in like
Yes.
yeah,
So some
yeah,
Muslims
okay.
are wronged, definitely, but like not all Muslims are wronged.
And you like when you say you don't endorse like some Hindutva members that they have like bigoted views against Muslims, you don't support that, okay? But
Yes.
which is all good, but you're still supporting Hindutva. To me, it seems like part like in the West, like in the United States, like members of alt-right groups who say like, oh, we don't like I don't hate black people. I mean, this is like we just think they should like live in a separate area or they like but like okay, but a lot of but your entire organization or institution and ideology is against them. We're like, those are just some of our members. I am part of this organization, but I don't endorse that ideology. I don't support their certain views. But I think like they give us they give the audience an impression that oh, this is just some bad actors within that group, but it's actually mainly most of the ideology of that group, right? Like you know what I
Yes.
mean? Like
Uh,
it seems like you're whitewashing what Hindutva is representing.
but how am I whitewashing what Hindutva represents by saying that they are wrong?
Well, okay, no, because you're not saying Hindutva as a whole is wrong. You're saying there are certain members within Hindutva who are
Yeah.
wrong, but this is not Hindutva ideology itself. And I'm just saying this is not just certain members of Hindutva. This just seems to be like a theme of the entire Hindutva movement to be bigoted against Muslims or to want to, make non-Hindu people in India to feel like second-class citizens and to challenge India's secularism. You know what I mean? Like this seems to be a main theme of that entire ideology, and you're saying you're not for that. Might
Yes.
give the audience a misunderstanding of like, oh, maybe it's not all like this. Well, it's mostly like this. So
No, I don't think it's mostly like this.
okay, well that seems like that's what the impression that we get from Hindutva right now. So You are going against every single report, every single expert analysis that I've read. Like this is maybe you are white. It seems like you're whitewashing Hindutva.
Like the reports you have read, I don't think there is like any survey or something which is like telling what all the Hindutva people are about. It is mostly based on like news reports and everything, right?
Most what?
Like it is mostly based on news reports, like this incident happened here, this incident happened there.
You're
And
honest telling me like most Hindutva members don't have a
yes,
bigoted view against Muslims.
yes,
That's a big claim. I don't believe that.
like you
Um,
might like try to like if you come to India, like if you like say Hindutva, then like what do you mean by Hindutva members? Like I would like to know.
People who, if I ask them, are you a supporter of Hindutva, would say yes.
Okay, so even the people in India who don't vote for BJP, if you ask them, do you support Hindutva, they will say yes.
And what does that mean?
Because most of the people
Support it.
don't know the difference between Hinduism and Hindutva.
The people who say yes and they understand the difference between Hinduism and Hindutva.
Like even amongst them, I don't think like more than 30 or 40% of them
Okay.
would be like the most upper limit would be like around 30%.
You know, India as a whole is one of the most bigoted countries in the world. So for me, like even the general public, who are not even actively Hindutva members, are probably bigoted against a certain group, right? So but Hindutva itself, like I mean, what the studies show is like bigotry in India is like rampant, right? But then, like we know, Hindutva specifically is even like active members of Hindutva are even more bigoted than the other people in India. So for you to say like, oh, if we zoom in on Hindutva, we're not going to get extreme amounts of bigotry against Muslims in India, that's a very extraordinary claim here. Do you know what I mean? Like this flies in the face of everything every report and every analysis that we've seen.
Okay, so like when you say that most of the people, like I don't buy into the claim that most of India is bigoted. I don't.
I didn't say no. I didn't say.
Yes,
I
I
didn't
quite
say
didn't
most
get
of
what
it.
you said.
I didn't say most of India is bigoted. I said India is one of the most bigoted countries in the world.
Like what does that mean?
That means like if you look at studies that measures bigotry around the world, India ranks close to number one.
Okay, so I think my teacher talked about that study once. That study takes into account like the colonies, how like how many in a colony, what is the like diversity in that colony, right? Like in a locality, like in a like in an area, what is the like diversity of people in that area, right?
Let me check. What you talk about that study? I will go find the other studies.
Okay, so if I don't know which study Armin is talking about, but there was one study which took into account this thing, that what is like the diversity in a particular area, like an area which is taken at random, and they took many areas. But the problem if you take things like this in India is because people like to live with their community. Like as far as people I know from the villages, they live in villages where their caste is dominant. If they get money to build a house and they have like 4 or 5 plots, which in village like if you're
So the question
privileged,
was regarding accepting people of different ethnicities as your neighbor. How willing are you?
yes,
Basically,
that
yeah.
they would not be willing, but that's not got to do with like discrimination towards Muslim or any other community.
Not
That is
No, I didn't say discrimination. I said bigotry.
yes, if that's the definition of bigotry, then like I don't buy into that definition of bigotry. But if that is the definition of bigotry, which I don't support, then of course you will find that India is bigoted. But that definition is bogus, I think, because in India people like to live with same caste people. Like if you are living in a village and you have like 3 or 4 plots, which is like very common
Wanting
for
to live with same caste people is bigotry. Like the fact that you don't want to live with other people of a different caste is bigotry.
no, but that's not the case if the people of the same caste come together to support the people of their caste, and that has been the case like for years, like thousands of years, which I oppose.
Yeah,
like I don't support people helping only the people from their caste, but like that is how it is, and that I don't think that's
I know,
bigotry,
but that
that's
is
casteism.
bigotry. I know, but
Casteism.
that's well, casteism is a form of bigotry.
No, but like there is casteism bigotry like going to the levels of untouchability, and there is this level. I don't think this level qualifies as bigotry in the Western sense.
No, okay, okay, so the thing is that it does, right? But like the level of bigotry is so normalized in India that people look at it and say like, well, that's not that big of a deal.
Like
Like because
most of the
there's
people.
because
Okay, so
because people in India are used to levels of bigotry where certain people are considered untouchable. That's how extreme levels of bigotry they're used to. So if
not
somebody
now.
says like, well, I mean, no, they're still like I understand that there
Like
has been
it
a lot
has,
made, but
yes,
let me
lot of
let me
improvement.
lot of improvement. I agree with that, but I'm just saying that's what with that context. If you say, "Well, I don't want this caste to be my neighbor," that seems mild. But by Western standards, that's actually an extreme level of bigotry. Like if, for example, if somebody in the United States says, like, "Oh, I don't want any black people as my neighbor," we consider that extreme level of bigotry. But by India's standard, it's like, "Oh, we have 4 castes, and that certain people of certain castes can only wash toilets and touch dead bodies." And so this is like me telling me it's other like people that I don't want this member of caste to be my neighbor. Sounds pretty mild compared to what we had. So people are like, oh, that's nothing, but that's huge still by modern standards, by
That's
civilized
huge.
society standards. That's huge.
Okay, so this has not got like this specific thing has not got nothing to do with like the 4 castes. It has got to do with like the thousands of castes that are around. So if you are like a Bhumihar or a Kayast, you will try to live with Kayastas, like which is like a subcaste. You can find it out of after the stream. Like you know that there are many
Yeah,
castes, right?
yeah, I know, but this is like, this is like, I don't know. You're
Yes,
like, oh, we're white, but we don't like all white people. Like we should
yes,
be. I
but
want to live next to Germanic people, like because I don't like
yes,
those Spanish people. Like you're like, okay, well, there's so many ethnicities within ethnicities,
but
right?
it has got
So
nothing to do with liking or not liking.
it has nothing to do with liking or not like. Yeah,
Yes,
it's just
it
being
has got to
comfortable.
do,
Yeah,
yes,
it's more.
comfortable with their peers.
That is bigotry. Like for example, like uh, people who are white and racist, that doesn't mean they like every white people. If they're racist, that means they're just more comfortable around other white people. That is bigotry. It's
Yeah,
not necessarily that if you're a racist white person, it doesn't mean that you love every single other white person. It also applies there as well. So it's the same thing. It's bigotry.
like I don't think I will be able to fit it in the context of the US, but in India, like if even if you are living with the people of the same caste and you prefer someone from the same caste being your neighbor, even then, if you meet like someone from the other caste, I mean most of the people would like treat them very 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 nicely, like really
Exactly. Okay,
nicely.
let me show you. Let me tell you how that sounds. Okay. For example, let's say white racists in the United States, they might be like, if I see a black person in the street, I would treat them very nicely as long as they don't live in our neighborhood. Like
Yes.
YouTube, that's not my view. This is not my views. I'm just describing other people's racist views. Okay. But again, the fact that they're going to treat a black person nicely if they meet them, you're not going to be like, oh, therefore this person is not racist. You were like, oh my god, this person is racist. Like they shouldn't live in a neighborhood, separate but equal. Like, that whole separate but equal thing. That sounds like you right now, right? Separate but equal is an example of extreme racism. Like, oh, we will like them, we will treat them well as long as they stay away from our neighborhood. This is like a very common saying among
Yes, I
racist
agree.
people. Yeah, okay.
So, but like, what will happen if like in America they will jump like break down that number 80% whites and 20% blacks, make it something around 1% white, 1% like Irish, 1% Spanish, 1% like 2-3% of everything. You get that? Like 2% Indians, like everything.
What's your question? I don't understand what you're saying.
Like there are 80% whites and 20% blacks in America right now, right?
Oh, 80%.
Something around that number. Like
Yeah.
let's just take that as an
Okay,
example.
that's it. Let's get. Assume that's right. Okay.
Okay, so instead of that, there is just imagine that there is like 2% blacks, 2% whites, and like so many percentages of different types of people, like 2% Spanish, 2% Irish, and like all kinds of people are mixed in there. Okay,
Right. Yeah. I mean,
and like before
it's kind of.
Enlightenment values,
Mm-hmm.
they were like helping out each other according to their communities, and most probably the castes are linked to the tribes. So I think it might be like like ancient thing, like very ancient. And from that time, they
Yeah.
were helping each other out. I'm not providing excuses for casteism. I'm totally against that system.
I
I'm not.
understand you're explaining where it comes from, but I'm
Yes,
saying,
I'm explaining where it comes from.
yeah,
Like,
but
and
I
they used
agree
to
with
help each
that.
other, and now
I
they are
agree with
locked.
that. But
Yes,
bigotry also has an ancient history. Racism
yes,
also has ancient
I
history.
agree.
So
Like I'm
yeah, yeah.
telling you what
But
this case is like, and
yeah, I
then
agree. I agree.
these people help out each other, and then suddenly like the enlightenment values come. Like Indians have been fighting caste even before the enlightenment values for some people, but like enlightenment values come and they are now adapting to new values, which is
Yeah.
like Indian plus
So we,
enlightenment values according to India. And now they are like slowly getting out of this thing where they help only their community members, but still like the people there want to live with their community because the communities help each other like more.
yep.
They help
Again,
each
this
other
is not
more.
a defense. Yeah, this is kind of like saying, well, we white people want to live next to each other because
No,
white
but
people help each other more. It's kind of
no,
like
but
that. And it,
no, but
yeah,
you like use that example with black people.
yeah. Well, again, black people also be racist against white people. That's true.
But like not as bigoted as that white example, right?
Well, I mean, when you're a minority, when you're a majority, your bigotry is more felt because you're the
Yes.
dominant group.
Well, like if you come to caste, like
I
all
mean, I'm
castes
just
are
saying
minority.
yeah. Okay, so I agree that if you're small groups, the effects of your bigotry is felt much less because you can't exert that level of influence. But that's the nature of you being a minority, not because you're not bigoted. The bigotry is still there. The effects might be smaller because you're not the majority.
I think we disagree on the definition of bigotry. I think I might
Okay.
have to look it up.
But for example, like if you think about it, like in World War II, right? It wasn't the racism that existed there wasn't white people. It was the Germanic. Like they were like the Nazis. They didn't just kill. They mostly killed other white people. You know what I mean?
Yes, like they killed
And they were
Romanians too,
racist.
right?
Yeah, and they were racist against other white groups as well. Not just they weren't just
But
racist against like Jewish
but
people and black people. They were racist against they were like the Germanic races, the superior race, and they were against the French. They were against the Spanish. They were against all other sort of white races as well. So you can
yes,
see
but
even if it's a subgroup, it could still lead into very extreme. If that level of bigotry gets access to power, it will still have the same result. You know what I mean? Just because you don't have the opportunity to be extremely damaging with your bigotry, that doesn't mean the bigotry itself is not as intense.
but like these people have been in power, and like this bigotry is not like that they want to kill other
India,
people or something like that. This bigotry,
I
like
mean,
even if it is bigotry, it is something like it is coming from
yeah,
a feeling of
yeah.
helping and
You're
getting
right.
help.
No, yeah, you're right. When they were in power, they weren't killing them. They were just literally telling them that you're only worthy of cleaning our shit and burning dead bodies and
That's
So I
wrong.
mean, slavery. Well, no, that is not wrong. There were slaves,
Uh,
especially.
uh,
Yeah.
no, that claim is right. That move is wrong.
What?
That like what you're saying is right, but people doing that is wrong.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. So,
I'm just
this
saying, like right now, I'm just saying when you have an extreme level of bigotry, okay, you're saying, oh, they wouldn't want to kill them. I'm just saying that, or they wouldn't want to treat them like that. I'm just saying, well, because they can't. If that level of bigotry has access to power, that's how it would manifest itself.
but this bigotry is not like the untouchable bigotry. This
It's based on
bigotry
the caste
is
system. The untouchable bigotry is the caste system. This is the caste system. If the caste system
this is the caste
is
system,
allowed,
but
if the caste system was reinforced to the fullest extent, it will result in literally slavery.
like is there slavery in like the caste system?
Yes,
Like the lower castes are supposed to not be paid?
They should paid. Define paid because paid as in because the Shudras were slaves.
Like they were paid for their work, right?
They were given the minimum requirements that they needed to survive. So were the slaves in North America.
No, but the Shudras, like I'm not in support of this system. Anyone, please don't come after me. But
the history of the Shudras were that they were slaves. They were basically literally not part of the Aryan race. They were outside of the Aryan race. That's why they were the Shudras. They were supposed to obey. They were the working. They weren't just the working class, as in the working class that we recognize today, that were happy with their job. They couldn't quit. Here's the thing. They were the working class. Okay, they had to do the farms and they had to do manual labor and clean, and do the cleaning and everything. And they were not allowed to not do that. That's the definition of a slave. Like if you were a Shudra and be like, I do not want to work the farm anymore, thank you very much, I'm going to go do something else, you were not allowed to do that. That's the definition of a slave.
Like, isn't the definition of a slave that you will do something what I tell you and you will not get paid?
Yeah, well, the definition of a slave is that you cannot quit your job.
I thought it is like you don't get paid, but
okay, but you don't get paid. What do depends on what you mean by paid, because technically all slaves get paid to some extent because they are given food and shelter at some point. Okay, what do you mean by paid?
Like monetary things, like money.
No. Yeah, okay. So it's not the paying part. So for example, if I had a slave and she was hungry and I gave her some money to go get herself some food, that would not make her not a slave. The fact that she can't stop being my worker, that would make her my slave. The choice part is the slavery part. You understand?
But
if I the moment that I give her money to go get something to eat because she's starving, that would not the moment I put money in her hand, that's not when she becomes from a slave to an employee. That's not what stops make her pay. Like for example, the Filipinos that go to the UAE or to Saudi Arabia, all right, and their passports are taken away from them so that they can't leave. They are slaves, even though they're getting paid money. The moment that their passport is taken away from them and they have no mobility and freedom to quit, that's the moment that they become slaves, even if they get monetary compensation.
Okay, but how about you apply this in the system where like everybody is bound to their job and they have no masters? Like even like the Shudras have had many jobs, like blacksmiths, like zinc workers and tanning people, and they used to like charge a fee for what they did, like making up a slipper in India we call it.
So this depends on what period of time you're looking at, right?
Yes.
So this is a very long history, okay?
Yes,
so
very long history.
The longer back you go, the more actually there's a period where you get into Shudras literally being slaves, okay? But then this keeps evolving, and then you have more elements of choice, still inferior, but still more elements of choice. It gets introduced to the system. It really depends on when you look at it, at what period of time you look at it. This is a very by the way, what we're talking about is a debate between scholars. This is not like completely settled.
Okay, so
yeah,
that's why that's I think that's why I haven't heard of it, because this claim of the Shudras being slaves, I think it was more even if scholars are arguing for it, I think they might be arguing for the bottom of the the untouchables or something.
Shudras.
But getting the bigotry part, I don't think that I think it is bad, but I don't think it is like the bigotry which people if you call it bigotry, then people have a very specific view of bigotry, which is actively discriminating against people, committing atrocities on them. If India is bigoted by your definition, then it is not this bigotry which people think bigotry is. It is like a bigotry of help. Yes, I think that's the right word. A bigotry of help. I will help my community member first.
Yeah. So basically, what I'm saying is that it really does depend. It's a mix on the time and on the definition of slavery and the time that you're looking at. So the question of whether Shudras were slaves, it's debatable. Anyways, we should I should let a friendly Muslim. Did you want to add anything? Sorry. Do you have any of your own questions? Sorry.
Yeah. Just on the songs, the Hindu songs, you said they shouldn't be banned. But if Muslims made songs saying, okay, so but if Muslims made songs, be banned too. They should be banned. They should
be banned. They should not be banned.
They should not be banned
unless they are openly calling for violence and killing of Muslims or any other group. They should not be banned.
Okay, so if Muslims had songs saying that all the Hindus should leave India and Sharia law should be good in India, you'd be okay with that?
I would be okay with this. I would not be okay with that. I will be okay with them having the right to say that Sharia is all right. But if they are saying all Hindus should leave India or all Muslims should leave India, I don't think the criteria for this is like in the Brandenburg judgment. It is like a specific place, time, and person. Like there are 3 or 4 parameters for it. If it qualifies for that, if it is like, I will use that parameter to judge these things. It would be better if I
Okay,
had that parameter,
so
but I don't have it right
friendly
now.
Muslim, I think what you have to differentiate between somebody saying I like or I'm okay with something, and I think that they shouldn't be banned. These are two different things, right? Just because somebody thinks that it should be allowed, it doesn't mean that they're endorsing it. They just think like that it's bad, but because they should be, even though it's bad, they should have the freedom to be able to, like, make the song, or when somebody says I don't think it should be banned, they're not saying that it's a good thing, or it's
Exactly.
or that they're okay with it. They might hate it, they might not be okay with it, but they still think that the government shouldn't still get involved. Do you know what?
Yeah, no. I just think there is, where songs are targeting a particular group and telling them to leave or they need to bow down. Again, if Muslims were making songs saying, ex-Muslims still need to bow down to us, etc., etc., I don't think that would be right. I think
That
that
wouldn't
should
be
be.
right. That wouldn't be right, but it should still be allowed, because like, for example, if a Muslim makes a song that says like ex-Muslims should bow down to us and submit to us, that should not be illegal, because that's not a direct that's a incitement of violence, right? There's no direct incitement of violence, so it's a bad song, but it should still be legal. It should be allowed.
Well, okay. Right.
And
Well,
another point I would like to add here is like, friendly Muslim.
mhm.
When you say like that Hindus are doing it, I know they are doing it, and it is totally bad. But I would like to point out that it is not a Hindu exclusive things. Like, extremism feeds off both sides. So like, there
Oh
are many
no,
Muslim songs
I
like this too.
completely agree with you. I
Yes.
completely, and for me, if there were any Muslim songs that were of extreme nature against Hindus or Indians, then I think they should be banned also. I also stand against, whether people like it or not,
Yes.
Muslim extremism. I can't stand by and say Muslim extremism is endorsed or liked in any way. So,
Yes.
right there.
Wait,
Yeah.
banned by who? Banned by social media or the government?
Essentially by the government, in terms of.
Really? Isn't that too much? Okay, so for example, let's say there's a song by a Muslim that says Hindus are this and that, and it was like insulting towards Hindus. You think the government should? I mean, I agree if a social media platform has community standards that says like, oh, we don't allow this. Okay, I think that's okay. But I think you're going too far if you want the government to say like, oh no, this is illegal. Like, this is policing people's speech. No,
You don't think it's dehumanizing of other individuals, or?
it is, but I don't want the government to police that. Okay, so for example, like there are many things that are bad, but I don't think the government should get involved in stop making everything that is bad is illegal. For example, cheating on your wife is bad. You agree?
Hmm.
But it shouldn't be illegal. The government shouldn't come and get involved. Like, you're arrested for cheating on your wife. Just because it's bad doesn't mean that the government like should be involved in like everything that is immoral.
Okay, so all right. So going back to another, were you against someone having 4 wives, for example?
Me?
Yeah.
No,
Oh, you're okay
no.
with polygamy.
I'm completely okay with a man having 4 wives, as long as a woman is also allowed to have 4 husbands.
Fair enough. Um. Okay, so that was that question. We've talked about the music. Anything else going on in India? Um. Yeah, and by the way, I don't stand against the Muslim violence or calls for any sort of violence against the the MP or
It,
I think
Nupur
that
Sharma.
yeah,
I
I
had a
think
question about Nupur Sharma, Armin.
Wait, let friendly Muslim finish his thought, because he's
Okay.
been waiting for us. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
no, I don't endorse any of the violence that was on behalf of the Muslims in terms of I either peacefully demonstrate, but the calls for her beheading, threats against her family, etc. I'm completely against. So
Wait, I have a question for you, friendly
Mhm.
Muslim. Don't you find it a little bit? What do you think about the fact that an attack on Muhammad has gotten more reaction from Muslims than attack on Muslims themselves?
Yeah, no, it's a problem.
It's a
It,
problem.
I mean, so we've seen the Middle East stand up, say that we've got a problem here, and we don't approve of this, but there are other things going on in the world that there's silence in the Muslim world and Muslim communities, which I would hope changes in the future. It's something I'm talking with Muslims about being more vocal and standing up for certain things, such as the treatment of minorities. In Pakistan, the treatment of minorities is not good, and there needs to be more voices in regards to that, and the same goes for treatment of minorities in India.
Yeah. Wait,
Okay.
you guys seem like both. You guys should both come and talk more often, because we're getting a good Muslim representation and Hindu family representation here. You guys are more sensible than a lot of people that usually.
Yeah, I'm also
Yeah.
for Muslim ex-Muslim communication. It's been a
Yeah.
personal journey of mine to speak to every ex-Muslim that's on our platform, and you were the last one, so that I haven't been able to get to. So I'm actually quite. You're off my list now, so now I can actually tell people about my official ex-Muslim grading system that I've got going on.
Wait, but we should talk more. This is not like you're just crossing me off your list. We're not going to talk more
No,
often. Like I'm.
not. I haven't been able to present my findings because at the beginning of Ramadan I wanted to be peaceful, and a mission of mine was to speak to ex-Muslims and see what the relationship was, because I saw it being a very toxic on social media, etc. So I've managed to speak to everyone. The only one I haven't managed to speak to personally was you, but I've already done my grading of all the ex-Muslims, and you're actually my number two. But I couldn't officially say that until I had spoken to you. So now when I speak to other Muslims about ex-Muslims, then I can now put you in the list and say yes.
Wait, who's
Yep.
number one?
Yes, that's what I wanted to know too.
Harris is my number one at the moment. He was my number
Okay.
seven. I didn't think, but you're very close now. To be fair, yeah. So it's Muslims are surprised when I say, "Oh, you speak to this ex-Muslim." I'm like, yeah, I do, but these are the reasons why. They'll fight, especially you. Actually, I've actually sent some of your videos to Muslims to say, "Listen, you've misunderstood what he's actually about," because yeah, that's another story. But yeah, I'll get into that afterwards. But
Yeah, well, we should talk more. Like, would you be interested in like coming, just having a show? Just
yeah,
do you have a channel or something?
yeah, I do. But yeah, I mean, I speak to everyone. But yeah, no, I'd definitely like to have
Yeah.
a better conversation with you. Absolutely.
I'm jealous of Harrison. I want to. Let's talk. Let's talk. Maybe I can get some.
But you passed my test.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I
No,
did. I did. Okay.
I'd love
And
to know about Iran as well, because I've got so many questions, and I need someone in that part of the world and has an understanding of that part of the world to ask questions about. Because
Okay. Yeah. Let's do that. By the way, both of you should email me. Armin.navabi@gmail.com. We could like have more talks, because this is
like
very
how frequently?
well. Whenever like maybe like once every 2 weeks. If I'm free, like as I would like, it's hard for me to find people from that are willing to have conversations like this, either Muslim or Hindu. So I think this is great. Like, we have an ex-Muslim here who's both against, as I'm very passionately against Islam and Hinduism. So Satya, would you consider yourself a Hindu?
Charvak Hindu, like the Hindu
Okay,
who doesn't
so
believe all the, like, you know what Charvak is.
oh yeah, the atheist ones. Well, yeah, okay, so we have a Hindu, we have a Muslim, we have an ex-Muslim, and we have disagree on our ideology, but we're just having a very friendly discussion. Like, we should show people that this is possible to, more often, which is good.
Oh, absolutely. This is why I actually have endured this, and even faced a bit of lashback, from Muslims. But they're seeing that communication can happen, and we can disagree, but still
Yeah.
have a conversation.
I have come to believe that what the conclusions themselves matter less than our
Than the
ability
process.
than the ability for us to disagree. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yes,
I
yes,
think like
I do get it.
whether or not, I don't know, Islam is true or Hinduism is true or all of the religions are nonsense, I think that's takes priority of that is second to the fact that because we're humans, we're not going to be logical anyways. Like a lot of our conclusions are going to be wrong, right? But our ability to just be able to have discussions about these topics without going at each other, at each other's throats, like even if we're passionate about it, we could still be passionate about it. But our ability to just be friends with each other while we are extremely against each other's views, like a lot of people see that as a contradiction. People can't seem to understand that I can hate Islam and attack Islam, but get along with Muslims, or hate Hinduism and get along with Hindus. And people could hate atheism, but still get along with me as an atheist. Showing that that's possible, I think, would be helpful.
I get that. Okay, so I had a question about Nupur Sharma.
Yeah, go on.
You once said that Nupur Sharma should not have said that, what she said. Right? You
Yes,
remember?
I agree.
Okay, but like BJP kicked her out of the party. So do you support that?
I think I support that. Maybe they should have done it earlier, but yeah, I do support that.
But like even Ambedkar used to burn the Manusmriti, so how's that any different? I'm not comparing
That's
the two
a-
people. Ambedkar is like a great person, but like
Yes.
law cannot be like this. Like law and standards cannot take into
Did
account if somebody is
Ambedkar
great.
do that as an individual or as a politician?
In that time, doing it in front of a crowd, like I consider it as like a political move. But
No, but yeah, no, a political move. I could do a political move. I'm not a politician. I could do a political move. Did
yes,
he do that as an official politician? You know what I mean? Like, was he official? Like, what was his role in India's politics at that time? Was
he
he
was like a
representing
very.
what?
He
Sorry,
was
go
not representing the. I don't think he had won any elections at that point of time, but he was still a
Yeah.
very like a tall leader of the untouchables and the lower castes,
Yeah,
the
no.
so-called lower
Well,
castes.
then he was a good leader for doing that. Like that's you doing something as an individual. You're not a politician. You're not an official member of India's government.
Nupur Sharma is not also a part of the government.
She was a spokesperson of the BJP.
Yes, she's a spokesperson of the party, but like she has no post in the government.
Wait, isn't that a post?
In the party, sure, but like not in the government.
Okay, party. Isn't the BJP party part of the government? Like that's an official government position to be a spokesperson of a party.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Like, how is that true? Like
If
if
they
there is a
suspended
member,
her, then she had a position in the party. If they suspended her from the party, then she had a
yes,
position.
she had like that's what I'm saying.
Does she
had
get
a
paid?
position.
Does she get paid? Here's the question: does she get paid by taxpayer money?
No. Like taking out corruption. If there is corruption, she might be, but I don't think there is corruption, and she is paid by taxpayers' money officially.
Is BJP something separate from the? So is BJP like a private institution? Like the BJP party is a private institution separate from? Yeah, let me see.
BJP is like a different organization which contests elections and wins it.
Let me see. Oxymoron in the live chat saying, I agree with Armin. She should have been expelled because that's not her job. Okay, so here's the thing. I don't know if that's officially a government position that she had. If it's not, okay, then the question is, because now her firing will be a choice of the BJP party.
Yes.
When she was on that TV station, was she speaking on her behalf of herself, or was she speaking as a spokesperson for the BJP? You know what I mean?
She was
So
speaking as a spokesperson of the BJP, not the government.
Okay, so as a spokesperson for the BJP, then if the BJP did not like what she had to say as a spokesperson, then they were in the right to fire her.
I'm not denying their right. Like they have the right to fire her, of course, but like, is that move right?
Is that like it? Okay, so as a spokesperson of the BJP, if you're representing the BJP, you should only say the things that represents the BJP, not your own individual views. Like if she was like, I'm not representing the BJP right now, these are my views, then she shouldn't have been fired. Okay. But if she was giving the impression that I am speaking of the behalf of the BJP, and the people that are in charge of BJP are like, well, this does not represent the things that we want to be said on our behalf, then not only they have the right to fire her, they did a good job firing her.
Sorry,
right?
can I make one point? Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
More importantly, 2 days later, she did an interview where she stated that she was being supported by the higher ups of the BJP, and they had said, "Beta, don't worry," which means, daughter, don't worry. We are fully supporting you. So even 2 days after the event, she didn't apologize. She endorsed the fact that the higher ups in the party were fully supporting the way she behaved. So how does that work in this paradigm?
Okay, so like at that moment she was getting death threats, and like when she says that BJP was supporting her, I don't think it could be anything. Like, but I interpret it in this way that they support her against all these death threats, and you feel safe. Like, what was the Hindi line? "Beta, khush raho, beta kya?" Like, what beta?
Yeah, well,
What was the Hindi?
don't worry, daughter. It's fine. We've got you.
Beta,
We've got it covered.
so it could also be like, "Beta, don't worry. All these death threats, all this will go away. We have the police who will protect you."
But then she didn't apologize that she had done anything wrong, because they still had filed FIRs against her.
She did like issue a clarification, but she didn't apologize. I agree.
Yeah, she didn't apologize.
But
2 days.
like it
The
was
next
not a
day,
clear apology, but like it was like, how do I say it? Like,
she
I was under influences and that was bad, but like not directly apologizing. But like, I don't think
Friendly Muslim, what do you think she should have apologized for? Like, what is it? Yeah.
So when it first happened, I tweeted out. I said, "Listen, because I wasn't familiar with the laws, I said her conduct wasn't great for a politician having that discussion or someone representing the party. But if she has broken a law, then please, all Muslims, allow the penal code to be adhered to. Do not start start making any threats or anything like that." So that was my first part of it. Yeah.
But the way it's coming across to the world, like the world is not like the opposition to her is not saying like, well, technically what she's saying is right, but she shouldn't have said it as a politician or within their capacity as a spokesperson of the BJP. That's not what people are saying. People are like, you're insulting the Prophet. You shouldn't be allowed to insult the Prophet. And we're like, that's not what she did wrong. First of all, insulting the Prophet should be allowed, but not as a politician. Second of all, she didn't say anything that was like that is Islam doesn't say itself. Do you agree with that? Like everything she said about the Prophet, Islam says that about the Prophet.
So why have they charged her? What crime have they charged her with?
I mean, they didn't charge her with a crime. They just fired her. Did they charge her?
No. India police, like there have been FIRs against her.
Oh, FIRs again. Well, I have again. No, I think there's a difference between filing FIRs against you and officially being charged with a crime, because everybody, based on our experience with India, everybody could write an FIR for anybody. I have multiple FIRs filed against me. We didn't do anything wrong.
Well done. So okay, just for my own clarification, when they file an FIR, they can't just say, okay, well, your feelings are hurt. There must be a penal code that they go,
no.
Okay, well,
no, they can't. That's
really?
what they literally, that the FIR that they wrote against us, they literally said in it that our feelings, we are filing this FIR because our feelings are hurt.
Like there was they might have fired it under 295A, like using an act in the IPC.
No, I mean, your FIR doesn't have to be very good. Like I show you that, like your FIRs are just a claim. Like, so, I know. Your FIR is just like something you write and you file it, and maybe the first day in court somebody looks at it and laughs at it and throws it in the garbage bin. Your FIRs could be like a child could write it. Like it doesn't have to be any good. It could be like the most baseless thing in the world. Like how seriously it's going to be taken depends on the judge.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay, well, if she's actually not, actually committed a crime, then it was in bad taste what she did, essentially, considering her position. Oh, someone said Section 295A. That's what the
Yes.
charge.
That's
Yeah,
what
I
they
said
refer
that. I
to.
said that too. I said that too.
So yeah, that's the blasphemy law one, right?
Yes, like not exactly the blasphemy law, but yes, blasphemy law.
I know, but I know it's not officially recognized as a blasphemy law, but it's technically a blasphemy law.
Yes, it's
But okay,
technically a
so
blasphemy law.
but the thing is that if this FIR is taken seriously, then Islam will become illegal in India,
That's
because
the point.
everything she said about Muhammad, Sahih Bukhari says the same thing about Muhammad. This is the exact same thing. So if she committed blasphemy against Islam, Islam commits blasphemy against Islam.
Yes, like that's the point. Like excellent people like Anand Ranganathan, Kushal Mehra, Sham Sharma, all these people raise that this law has to go. This is a baseless law. Like hurting his religious feelings. That's a bullshit claim. Like in 1.4 billion people, if I say that I don't wake up early in the morning and everybody should do that too, I definitely think there will be someone whose feelings are hurt over this, and like he could file an FIR over me.
What do
Like
you
this
think
is
about, friendly Muslim? What do you think about the fact that everything she said is also within Islamic hadith? Like Islam confirms what she's saying is true.
So the law that they've got. So let me just. I want to separate the criminal act from the moral act of what she said. So 295A, which was posted in the private chat, is deliberate and malicious acts intended to outrage religious feelings of any class by insulting its religion or religious beliefs. So
Okay, but yeah, these are vague. Like who does determine what does insult mean? Because again, Islam, it's Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, Christianity. They have certain parts of it that insults everybody else.
yes, exactly.
Deliberate. Like if you read the Quran, there are certain parts of it that is intended to outrage religious feelings of others. I mean, if you read the Hindu, for example, stories, I mean, during it says Kali Yuga is going to be horrible, and the predominant belief during Kali Yuga is going to be atheistic views. So I feel, and I feel
Insulting.
insulted. I feel
Yes.
very insulted. Can I? Who can I file? Where can I file an FIR? Like as an atheist, I feel attacked.
Like the problem with this is like these things are so vague. Like there's a joke in India that if I am out of jail right now, it is just because the state wants me out of the jail. That's the only thing.
Like everybody is a potential prisoner right now in India.
Like every
single.
like you wouldn't believe it, but like if I had my face on the stream and my real name on the stream, like and like a billion people were watching it, I would probably be in jail. Police would have been knocking upon my door.
I think I know what the idea is. Okay, so here's if you say Muhammad had sex with a 9-year-old, okay, and if you say that was okay, that's legal. But if you say that was bad, then because you're insulting Muslims, then that becomes illegal. So you have to. So you could confirm that Muhammad had sex with a 9-year-old, but as long as you are endorsing Muhammad having sex with a 9-year-old, then you're okay.
So
you have to agree with him.
What I heard someone actually argue on that side was, go to the hadith. Does it say that he had sex with her, or did it say he consummated his marriage contract? So that was another part of the argument, which I hadn't heard before. But they were arguing that, look, it doesn't say that he had sex with her. It says that he consummated the marriage. And
consummated the marriage means to have sex with her.
No, they're saying that not well. That's what they were arguing was it means that he had consummated his marriage contract, as in he had taken her as his wife, essentially. Whether he had actually physically consummated at that time is there was an argument on the terminology of it.
Nobody for 1400 years, nobody has ever interpreted this in any other way other than
Indians have, man. Indians have. There was like a mainstream Indian newspaper which had like the heading that what you know is false, and then it was written that Aisha was not 9, she was 19, and 9 was something else.
Also, you don't even need to go
Yeah,
to
there are
hadith.
arguments for that also.
The Quran itself allows child marriage. The Quran itself talks about divorcing, like the rules around divorcing, and it categorizes your wife into your wives that have had their period, and your wives that haven't had their period yet.
But
So
that doesn't necessarily mean that you can consummate the marriage also. And that's another show. But there's
Oh, you're saying the wives. Oh, you're saying you marry them, but you don't have sex with them. I mean, this is a very charitable take for you to say that they didn't even mention this, right? You're saying that they married children, but there was this silent understanding that you don't have sex with your wives, even though because they're children, and that is not mentioned anywhere in Islam, but you know.
There is a
It's just like
a marriage
such a leap
contract.
There's such a leap of faith. You know what I'm saying? Like marriage. If you read the hadith and you read the Quran, you'll see, you'll come to this understanding that marrying somebody and having sex with them is often used interchangeably. They just go hand to hand with each other. You know what I mean? The understanding of marriage marriage being official, and marriage is official once you take someone's virginity away from them. Like if you study Islam and study the hadith, these are just go so much hand in hand with each other that you wouldn't even question that right now. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. So I know where you got the Muhammad hijab argument from, and also, have you actually gone through what the criteria for marriage is according to the Quran? So you've gone to the divorce part, but nobody ever goes to the part of where it says what are the conditions of marriage. Have you looked at that part of it, or you've just gone to that verse which Muhammad hijab made famous?
No, well, Muhammad hijab didn't make famous. This was like we were discussing this as children back when I was still in Iran. This was like you're saying this verse Muhammad hijab has made a verse in the Quran. No, do you understand that these verses have been debated for the past 1300 years over and over? There's literally walls of books have been written about these. Muhammad hijab hasn't made a Quranic. You're giving a lot more credit to Muhammad hijab than he deserves. I mean, I understand that he's big, okay, but I don't like every single dot in the Quran has been. I don't even know which clip of Muhammad hijab are you talking about. I'm just saying, like this, especially this verse, these verses, and these hadiths has been debated ad nauseum. Like this is like they're you could go find walls of tafsir about every single one of these verses. Islam has been attacked and defended over these verses for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Okay, well, I mean that's something we'd have to go into detail. I would like for someone actually to go through rather than the divorced verse. Why don't people go through the verses of what do they need to do in order to be married? No, nobody does that. Everybody focuses on the other side.
Okay, so the conditions for marriage vary, but it could be as easily as my right hand possesses them because I captured them in war. Like which like you tell me which conditions you're talking about.
What, in terms of marriage and concubinage back in the day, or are we talking about now? Is there concubinage at the moment?
Whatever was according to Islam. What are the conditions for marriage according to Islam?
Oh, well, you want me to go through a whole? We could do that on another stream. I don't want to. Okay. I don't want to actually, start.
Well, okay. So if it's a
breakdown,
if it's another free woman, the conditions are that you captured her in a war, and Muhammad doesn't have an eye on her. Okay. Because if you capture her in a war and the woman that you captured is prettier than the woman assigned to Muhammad, if Muhammad sees her and he gets horny, he will take your concubine off your hand. Okay, so but that's a condition.
Are you talking about Sophia? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Who was
yes.
who was the head of a tribe? Her father was the head of a tribe,
and Muhammad killed.
No, it was the brother. I think that was actually.
No, he killed that. He killed that too. He killed the brother, the husband, and the father.
No, father was already done previously. if you research it.
He killed a couple of important male figures of her family. I don't remember. Was it
fighting men that wanted to wipe the Muslims out?
Well, I mean, it depends on whose narrative you agree with, but because there was a collective punishment of an entire group of people because of an action of a few. But regardless, I don't think she was very happy to lay with the man who just recently killed her husband.
She didn't lay with him that night.
She didn't lay with him that night.
No.
When did she lay with him?
It was someone said up to 2 to 3 months after her 2 cycles of her menses, and they had a marriage, and she was a wife.
Okay, so you think she was happy with having sex with the man that killed her husband?
You didn't read the bit where he beat her, and that when the Prophet saw her, she had a bruise on her face, and he said, "Why have you got a mark?" And he said that my husband beat me, and he offered that I can release you to your people, and if not, you can take my hand in marriage. What would you like to do? So she said,
I've heard this debate. I've heard this debate before too. Like it was in the Ideas Unboxed video in which Imam Tawhidi and that other guy Daniel Hakikucho were there.
Sophia Muhammad. Let me see story. I don't know how much of your narrative to believe here or not. Okay, let me see. Sophia was one of the wives of the Islamic Prophet. She was along with all the other wives. Okay, marriage to Muhammad, Battle of Khaybar. Okay, according to Muhammad, according to Bukhari, Muhammad stayed for 3 days. Okay, where he consummated his marriage to Sophia. Stayed for 3 days between Khaybar. 3 days, not 3 months.
Where are you getting that from?
I'm looking at Wikipedia.
Okay, do you trust Wikipedia?
Well, I mean,
can you go see who uploaded that Wikipedia article?
This is Bukhari. This is saying as according to Bukhari.
Okay,
I could literally look at the reference and see if it's true. Consider Sophia.
You can see that
the part that you're talking about her being beaten up. Okay, is that part of Sahih Hadith or is that part of?
Yeah, there's multiple Sahih Hadith on this.
Okay, send me the link. Send me the link.
I'm going to do a video on it. I've done all the slides on it. See, this is the whole thing. This is what I need to do. I've got all the presentations on all these topics. I've just got to do the actual videos, which I'm going to do, and then I'll start talking to people. Because all these things sort of come up, and I don't really want to debate them. I just want to present the evidence, and then people can actually decide. That's really it.
You don't agree that according to Islamic teaching, you could take a concubine as your wife simply by overpowering her, like simply because of by force? Like that's a Quranic verse that allows that.
They had a war. After the war,
No, I'm not talking about this. I mean, I don't know if your narrative is true. We could talk about that later because so many times I conceded something and then I looked later and they were like.
I'll tell you what. Let's both not concede anything at this moment. And also, again, if we are going to have further discussions, then I can present evidence and reports that go through all the chains. The fact of the matter is, it's not just there can be multiple Sahih Hadith in Sahih Bukhari that have different chains and different flaws in them, and people have actually done the work and gone through all of them, and it's boring and it's tedious. I've had to spend 3 hours going through them, but yes, you get a general picture of the whole story and not just the apologist narratives. I mean, for me, this is the only thing that annoys me at the moment. Who cares what was done now? Previously, why can't we focus on the things that matter to human beings right now? Like, are humans being enslaved? Can we not protest against those? Can we not work together against these things? Like, that's the thing I really want to focus on. I don't mind talking about the other stuff, but I also want that we are dealing with human beings right now. Like, I want to deal with how.
Well, the problem is that a lot of the things that we're dealing with right now is worse because certain people don't want to progress to better moral standards because they're using ancient texts and ancient scripture, and they think that we can't evolve from that and move past it. And they're holding us back by appealing to text that they claim comes from a divine source of authority. So I agree that I want things today to be better, but for us to make things better, we have to show people that you can't use a goat herder's guide to the galaxy as a guide to how to live your life. We have better systems and better codes of conduct and better ethical system that is working better for us now, and this is working against us.
Not in all cases. In some cases, yes. In some cases, with the flexibility it has, can move with the times, with certain conditions. But yeah,
don't you agree? Don't you like? Can't you see from my perspective, like instead of like having text that is like so outdated and was written by people who didn't understand how societies work, didn't understand how science works, didn't understand how the human mind works. People are debating over what this verse means or what that text means, and I think like these are chains that are holding us back. If we didn't care about what this is not a good guide to life, no matter how you try to twist and turn it, we would have been way ahead if we weren't being held back by these standards.
Okay,
do you see my perspective?
Yeah, no, I do. Right, so let's say child marriage, for example, now. Yeah, so in Saudi Arabia, as far as I know, the age has been moved up to 18 in terms of marriage.
Say that again.
The age of marriage is 18.
I don't know if 18 is the best. It depends on where you're talking about. I don't know if 18
Saudi
is
Arabia.
the best number. Oh, Saudi Arabia is 18?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And?
So that's not a problem, essentially.
My problem with Saudi Arabia is not the age of marriage. My problem with Saudi Arabia is like the human rights violation, especially on Yemen.
Okay, so that's an internal conflict that is going on.
Yeah. So you're looking at I don't know. So
that's
for example, the age of yeah, I understand that. So that I blame that on something. Well, actually, no. Wait a minute.
Problem.
It is religious. Actually, it is religious. But like, let me actually tell you, the age of marriage in Islam. Just because you could come up with one country where the age of marriage in Islam is not affecting that country, it doesn't mean that the age of marriage in Islam is not affecting some Islamic countries and some children. For example, in Yemen, the age of marriage was 9. Okay, and a lot of children are suffering because of it, because of Islam. So you go and find a place where it's not affecting some certain people because of that Islamic law. It doesn't mean it's not harming people. Actually, let me see. Age of marriage, like for example, in Iran, age of marriage was 9 for a very long time. So many children suffered.
Okay,
where did that 9 come from? That 9 come from Islam. So many people were harmed because of Islam.
Okay,
yes, not everywhere that is Islamic is being affected by that. But
take a deep breath for a second. So your secular laws, which also adhere to, like America, for example, would you say that's a Christian country, or would you say that's a secular country?
That's well, the people are Christian. Depends on what you mean. The people are mostly Christian. The laws are supposed to be secular.
Okay, fine. So when they have a marriage age of 7 in the 1900s, then who's responsible for that?
Depends on where the source of that is.
You can see Delaware 1800s. Now look at the marriage age in the USA.
Look, not everything an Islamic country does. I don't blame everything an Islamic bad thing that an Islamic country does on Islam. Okay, not even. That's what. So I have to see. It depends. So for example, the fact that you still have circumcision in United States, okay, I blame that on Judaism, on religion, okay. But there's certain evil things that comes out of United States that I don't blame on religion. It really depends on the history. In the same way, an Islamic country might be responsible for a great evil that is not because of Islam. It might be because of something else. And it might do another great evil thing that it might be because of Islam. Not just because an Islamic country does something bad, that's not enough information to blame Islam on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I want you to look at everything as a whole.
That's what I'm doing.
I don't, because you'll demand the same thing of me, but I'm more open, not just being Islamic. So
I'm agreeing with you.
Okay, good.
I'm
So
agreeing with you. I'm just saying, I'm agreeing that not just because. So, for example, there is so much harm from Christianity in the United States. There's so many evil things that are happening in the United States because of Christianity. I agree with you on that.
okay, fine. Are there secular laws? And again, I want a standard from the atheist secular perspective, where it's actually the same as religion, where you can then say, fine, the age of marriage. If you're saying that America was a secular country and they weren't going by the Christian laws, and the age of 9 or 12 or 7, or even now, if you can Google it now, what is the age of a marriage in 12 states? I believe it is. You are
It's horrible.
with
Okay,
parental consent.
that is partly because of Christianity, though. Because if you look at the places where age of marriage are very low in United States, there are also the states that are more Christian
Okay, but it's not a
and
Christian
Republican.
country.
But
It's
it
not a
is the
Christian.
Christian
It
ideology.
is. I
But
said
but
it
how are
is
they
for
making their
Christian.
laws? Are they doing it by science or are they doing it by religion? Are they choosing a
Well,
marriage age by science or by religion?
that's why I said it's supposed to be a secular country, because there are many places, there's many things in the United States where the laws and the standards are influenced by Christianity. That's why I didn't say that the laws are secular. I said they're supposed to be secular. This is
Good.
something where conservative Christian ideology is affecting the laws.
Okay. Could you give me an example of a perfect secular system in your view that we
There
can
is no
model against?
there's no perfect one. This is
Is the
why
best
this is
one
what
that
we
you've found, or is it still in the making?
the best one the best
I think
one
France. I think it's
yeah,
France.
I wanted to say France. Recently they have done some things that I don't know if I could endorse, but France takes is pretty good, relatively good. Except
Is it
there's
the best
sometimes,
though?
is it the best? I can't think of. It has a lot of flaws, but I can't think of a better one right now.
Okay. I mean, I would like to, if a future conversation, you break down for me what is your utopia of a secular system, and we actually go through that in depth.
Okay, a utopia of a secular system would be France if it didn't target certain Muslims. So some,
Is that an
if
oxymoron then? It's a perfect system, but it's targeting Muslims.
no, yeah, no. I said it's not. I said France if. No.
Okay.
You see, it's not an oxymoron. I'm saying it's not France. I said it would be France if it didn't do this. I didn't say France is a perfect system and these are its flaws. I said it's not. It has flaws, okay, and therefore it's not a perfect system. That's not a contradiction. There are certain, and I don't know if. By the way, this is because I don't have enough information. There are certain times that France does things that, like, it shuts down the mosque, right? And for more than like for based on suspicions, and I don't know based on what information they shut down the mosque. It just sometimes it seems like excessive, and a violation of secularism and freedom of speech, but and then I don't know if they had certain information that they can make public, but it just seems like violations, certain examples that it seems like violations of free speech and secularism. But if those were not there, France would be almost a perfect model. Also, there seems to be so obsessed. Yeah, they suggest, for example, France's suggestion of banning hijab in public areas. That's also scary for me. You know what I mean? I don't like that. So if if this was not there in France, I would be able to endorse them more willingly.
Yeah,
Like
so,
they
like, for
But
example,
banned the burqa, right? Like hijab is still legal on the roads and all. Hijab is banned in the schools and burqa
I
is banned on the roads,
I
right?
know, but there were certain bills that were suggesting that they might want to ban hijab in public as well.
Oh,
okay, now two questions because I'd really like your take on this. Number one, with the actual hijab in schools. Now, I was thinking about this, and I was like, well, in certain armies, certain police forces, the women still have hijabs, but they're part of a uniform. So, would it not be okay with consent of the child if they're like, say, they're 13, 14, or the age that they're wearing their, I think it's puberty that they send them to make them wear the hijab, basically, that they are then make it as part of a uniform that's open to all. So, it's one color, even if it's got a symbol on the side of it to represent that it's a, but it works within the frame that it is still part of a school uniform. Would you have an objection to that?
I don't. I mean, I don't think children should have religion in the schools being forced upon them in school system, right? And it's kind of like it turns the education system into a place where a certain ideology is being endorsed, especially if it's a government institution, and now you're making a hijabi or a turban part of the uniform. You know what I mean? It would be having a hijab officially recognized as a part of the uniform would be like the same as being like, well, we have a uniform for everyone else, but this uniform is for people who want to have a cross in the middle of it. You know what I mean? Like, having.
So people shouldn't have a turban either. They shouldn't have an official uniformed turban that they could wear.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, of course they shouldn't be able to have that.
I think that schools should be allowed to decide if like they want to have hijabs and turbans, and it should be
A
up to them.
public
I don't
school
think.
or a private school?
If you come to India, like there are different public schools and they have different rules. So like whatever the public school decides.
I think a public school, because if a public school wants to allow hijab, it shouldn't have a uniform. Because if you have a uniform and then you have a version of it that has a hijab, then you are having the government officially recognizing your religion as special. Do you know what I mean? Because I can't come in there and be like, hey, I want a uniform that has a satanic symbol on it, and I want that to be recognized as the official part of the uniform. You can they're going to be like, nope, sorry, we're not going to give that uniform. So like, hey, how come the magic friends gets them a special uniform and my magic friends doesn't get me a special uniform? It's only because the government is all of a sudden recognizing the authority of your religion. You know what I mean? And I think the government shouldn't be in a position to be able to do that.
But what will happen if we then come to the Sikhs? Like they have to have like long hair, and if you don't allow them to like cover their head, and then they will have real problems because of those long hairs.
Well, I mean, if you want to ban the hijab, you shouldn't allow that as well.
Okay.
Yes, but
in a uniform, long skirts or short skirts? So should a girl have to expose themselves, or should there be a agreed length? Where do you resolve that? And if a man wants to wear a short skirt as part of his uniform, would he be allowed to do that?
This is why I'm against uniforms as a whole. Okay, but if you want to allow uniform, I think you should have 3 options as a uniform, like a trouser, shorts, or skirts, independent of your gender.
Okay, so okay, well, that's a middle ground on that. Okay, fine. So now, what age do you think people should be allowed to choose their religion, or no religion?
I don't know. I have to talk to. I mean, what age do you think the education system should be thinking? Because choosing a religion, technically, you should be able to choose that even if you're 5 years old. Because if we say you shouldn't be able to choose that, then in order to enforce that, we need a police at every household, and for the parents not to tell their kids that like Islam is the right way, or like Jesus is Lord, because we can't say like you can't introduce your child to religion, because that will require so much involvement that is impossible. You know what I mean? Like we can't make that illegal. We're just saying the government shouldn't. It's not. We can't stop the parents from introducing their children to the religion. We're just saying it can't be backed by taxpayer money. The government shouldn't be introducing children to religion.
Okay, so then you should ban all religious education from schools also then.
Religious education depends on if you're endorsing the religion or if you're just studying the religion. Because I think like within university, you could objectively, in a secular way, study religion without it being a propaganda for religion. So I think you could understand the history of religion, as long as the teacher is not like you could study Islam, Christianity, Judaism, as long as your teacher is not coming and endorsing any of them. You know what I mean? That should be allowed. In fact, that's helpful if you study religion. In fact, that creates the most number of atheists apparently if you study the history of religion. I think,
but
yeah, go on.
in
Gender
India,
identity. What age
in
should people be able to decide their gender?
I don't know. I think you need to talk to experts. I mean,
Okay.
wait. Yeah, go on.
Okay. I was asking that in India, like from class 1 to 12, grade 1 to 12, standard 1 to 12, we have like these moral science books, and in these books there are like religious stories. So there will be like a Hindu story, a Muslim story, a Christian story, all the and it will repeat. Like there will be 12 stories, 4 Hindu, 4 Muslim, 4 Sikh, 4 Christian, and there will be morals which we derive from these stories. So should these books be there?
It depends on the content. What are they trying to teach?
Basically, it's a story which tries to teach like modern values, like you should be kind, be gentle, be honest, and things like these.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah. Wait, is the context religious? Sorry.
Like religious, like what? The story is religious, definitely, but they are not like
Oh.
they are promoting an image like all religions are good and look what we have to offer from this religion.
No. That's an endorsement of religion by the government. Obviously, that shouldn't be allowed. By the way, when you asked me, friendly Muslim, you said like by what age? By no age. Like the government should at no point come into like, okay, when it comes to are you asking me about the law or what's moral? Okay, because what I consider moral, you know, an endorsement of any religion at any point in time is wrong. Okay, when it comes, but you can't stop the parents from doing that to the children. You can't stop them from doing that. But the government should not endorse any religion at any time, regardless of how old the child is.
Okay, so see with this uniform thing, it gets me because I would rather that if girls did have a standard uniform, and let's just say, and again from even a voting perspective, that they did a survey of all the people attending that school and said, all right, fine, for this Hindu section, would you like to wear a particular scarf that represents, you know, Hinduism if it's religious, a hijab or a turban, for example, and make sure it's a standard color. It's part of the standard uniform.
Why not
uniform?
Why not Satanism?
Oh, if there are Satanists, then you could ask them what they would want to be represented with. A scarf that has a little Satan symbol. Is that what you would like? Okay,
I don't
then
know,
we
but
could talk about it.
So how many uniforms would you want? Like, there wouldn't be a uniform. Like, then
it wouldn't be a uniform anymore.
Like, we would have 30 different standards for every religion.
I don't think it's if the army and
basically
the police
you're
can allow
labeling.
for it.
You know, you're introducing an environment where children come to the education system and they see that the number one identifying visual way that people are segregated is by their religion. You know what I mean? Like for example, your clothes, we have like a uniform, but we have different versions of clothes. It's not based on the books that you like. It's not based on the music that you like. It's not based on your politics. It's not based on your, I don't know, sports activities. You're teaching children that the main identifying feature that separates people from each other, the major part of the identity that we have valued so much that we're visually separating children apart based on it, is religion.
But wouldn't that be the same thing for the short skirt, the trousers, and the long skirt? You're doing it by gender, essentially.
No, I said like everybody, like a boy wants to wear a skirt, that should be also like, first of all, the long and short is available to boys and girls. That could be based on the weather. It could be like, it's hot, I don't want to wear a trouser. I want to wear shorts or a skirt, or it's cold, I want to cover my legs. It's based on the temperature. We're separating children based on their
yeah. I'm enjoying the conversation, to be honest, because I think these are challenging topics. So it's good to have. I mean,
I'm
education.
still stuck up like on the uniform thing, because the Sikhs have long hair and they have to manage it. Like I can't tell them, like institutions can't tell them that stop the keep their turban out and get all your hair dirty. They can't cut their hair. But if you like start allowing everyone, then you eventually you will have to allow the Marxists to like wear like a sickle and a hammer on his chest and colored in the school uniform. I don't know where this could go.
I mean,
Like we have to
I want to say, why
allow
do we
everybody
even have a
again.
uniform? I want to challenge the idea of a uniform as a whole, but that would make the conversation not very interesting, because I'm against having uniforms. What do you guys think about
Like in
uniforms?
school or like in school or
In
like
school?
everywhere.
In school, like I
But
want to,
like
like I think like children should be taught individuality, like to be seen as individuals, to be able to express themselves through their clothes, through their taste or whatever. Like this is like giving them all the same clothes is like teaching them collectivism. You know what I mean?
the purpose of the uniform, like from what I've heard, is to like tell the people that you are all equals and you are not going to judge each other by the
Right.
quality of clothes by which they wear, like the quality of clothes
So
they wear.
my solution to that was to have a school, you know, like a school store, like as where like a school closet area with like so many different variety of clothes, but that you could go choose from. But like it's limited to what the school offers, just so that you can't use classes or buy expensive clothes. Maybe I don't know. I don't know if that would be ideal.
Like that's a
I
good
see.
idea, but
But then
like
you
it
could
will defeat
argue
the
for
purpose
scarves
of
then.
yes, that
What?
will defeat the purpose of your earlier argument that people will start clubbing by religion, because if this happens, then Muslims will buy scarves and Sikhs will
No,
buy
that's
like
that's
turbans.
fine because like it's a different from uniform, because if you have it in the uniform, you're like letting know that the school is telling you that this is teaching you that this is how we're separating you, right? We're defining your identity based on a religious identity, okay? But when it comes to self-expression, okay, these are like the kids understand that this is not this is how they are deciding to express themselves. Like this is not a message that we're getting from above that this is what matters. This is their choice. Maybe it's wrong. Maybe this is like I don't find it cool. I don't like it. Maybe I don't want to associate with that. You know what I mean? But coming it from up from above and force down like to the children is sending the wrong message.
But even when we allow hijabs and turbans in the school, we are not like enforcing it. We are telling them that if you want, you can wear it. If you don't want, then fine.
Yeah, but like we're only doing that with religion, which is like
Yes.
emphasizing that this is like if you want, if so, you're the point of the uniform is to show, for example, you just said yourself, the point of the uniform is to show that you're not above or below or different.
Yes.
Everybody's going to be treated equal. Well, if you all of a sudden the school is like accept religion, then it's defeating the purpose. You're teaching people like the only way to get to set yourself apart from other people and not be equal with them. The only way, we have eliminated every way except religion. So religion is the way for you to feel special, for you to feel unique, for you to feel
Oh,
different from other people, for you to be part of a tribe that you, instead of the human tribe, the Muslim tribe or the Hindu tribe or the Sikh tribe or the Christian tribe. You know what I mean? Like you're not only the purpose of uniform is to reduce tribalism, but by allowing one element where you could be tribal in it, you're actually you're defeating the purpose, and you're making the religion tribe even stronger than all other forms of tribalism.
Okay, at the school they
okay.
serve
So I
beef.
agree with that school shop model, because I think like it is like the best model that I've come across right now. But like I'll have to think about it. But what do you think about like headbands? Like Hindus wear
What?
the sacred thread, which I wear, and like Muslims, I don't know, Muslims wear some taweez, and the Sikhs wear like a steel ring, like a steel kada around their hands. Do you think that should be allowed?
Well, if the hijab is not allowed, none of that should be allowed. But let me see what the friendly Muslim is saying, because he wanted to say something as well.
Okay.
Sorry. So that's interesting points you made there. So at lunchtime, for example, um, they may not serve beef. Do you think they should the dietary? See, my problem is that for the hours that you're at school, you don't stop being a Muslim. You don't stop being a Hindu. And at lunchtime, when you're playing together, people are still aware of the differences between each other. I don't understand what that piece of clothing prevents, in a sense. That's my only my only issue where I'm sort of confused at as to, for how 6-7 hours that you're at school, we're
Well,
nationalists and there's no separation, but you're still a Muslim. That person's still a Hindu. They still believe in maybe multiple gods and not eating beef. I still believe in halal and one God. That person believes in a triune God. That doesn't
well, I mean,
change within the hours of
okay,
school.
okay. So, well, let
So
me. So, for example, let's say that you're a member of the KKK, okay, and you're like, and you want to wear a uniform accordingly to school for that, and we're like, we're not gonna let you, and you're like, well, you still know that I am a member, even if I don't wear it. Like if everybody knows me for that, right? So given that everybody already knows, well, why don't you just let me have my own specific uniform? Like,
that's an interesting point. All right, I got to ponder that one. That's it. Yeah. Oh, see, this is why I endorse these types of conversations. That because they are thought provoking, and we should have them. Yeah. So what do I do if a guy who's a KKK wants to come in his uniform? What do we do then? But yeah, that's an interesting point.
and if we say that, oh, but that's bad, and we don't like it, so we're not going to turn it into uniform. Well, what are we saying then? Is the government officially endorsing as Islam and Judaism and Hinduism as good? Do you know what I mean? Like, because if you're saying we're not
Yes,
allowing that because bad, so you're endorsing these because these are good. Like, so you're endorsing them.
Yeah, but it could also be like Hinduism, Islam, and all these are acceptable, but the KKK idea is like not acceptable.
Yeah, that's
I
another
mean,
point. Depending on what they're asking for. So is
Islam is not. Well, people
well,
could say like, "Well, it's not acceptable to me. Islam is not acceptable to me." Also, it's majority rules then.
No. The government.
Yeah, but
I mean, the private
the
schools can do
government is
anything they want, but like to the government, Islam and all these religions are acceptable, but KKK is not acceptable. Like, how
well.
about
Okay,
that
well,
argument?
the government. Why is the government deciding that Islam is acceptable? They're not in that position. They shouldn't be in that position to say Islam is acceptable or
That's a
Christianity is
valid
acceptable.
that's a valid point too. But
Because
this
to me,
uniform
Islam
thing
is
is
not
like,
acceptable at all. So why? I am paying a tax. I am paying my tax. Government is supposed to represent me as a citizen, and I hate Islam, and the government is like, well, saying like, well, Islam is acceptable. I'm like, wait, who says so? Aren't you supposed to represent me? Who made you boss? Why are you? Why is my government that is supposed to be representative of all the citizens all of a sudden saying that Islam is acceptable?
this uniform, I've always found this uniform debate very difficult to have, because this is like just such a confusing debate. Like, there is like no one answer. We have to always choose like the best between all the averages. Like, every idea is average, and we have to choose the best between that average.
Yeah. Also, like it becomes difficult with policemen as well. Like for
But I think
example,
policemen,
mhm.
I think policemen should be like allowed to have uniforms, and like, if it comes to policemen, like, they need to have a uniform, that's for sure. Like, then there's no option of them not having a uniform, not
Should
having a
your
uniform.
policewoman be able to wear the hijab, or a policeman wear to wear the turban?
I think so. Yes, if it's
Okay.
of that color, because
Okay.
we
What
don't
if they?
stop like.
What if they? What if you? Can your policeman have a pin that says I voted for Trump"? Should they be able
Like,
to wear that?
but policemen, like, they are subjects of the state, and they are not supposed to pick sides in political battles, and so I don't think that
Okay.
that should be the case.
Why can the policeman that shows up, right, has be able to not be able to display his political views, but should be able to display his religious views?
Well, because when it comes to politics, then civil servants are supposed to be like neutral in the political game. They should not pick sides when it comes to politics,
Okay.
that I support this party or that party, but they can like express their religion and like uh, spread their
Can it have
religion.
a pin that says Black Lives Matter?
Yes, I think it should have. Uh, I think it should have, as long as it is supporting a movement which asks for like the rights of black people. But if it is like supporting the BLM organization, then it should not be allowed,
Um.
because like
well,
supporting black people and equality is like the fundamental of the American state.
some people argue that going against BLM is actually ALM, which is all lives matter. So then there would be a conflict then, because some people say there shouldn't be a Black Lives Matter, it should be an all lives matter. So
No,
where
no,
do
but
you stand there?
when it comes to Black Lives Matter, it likes most of the people interpret it in this way, that Black Lives Matter, Black lives also matter. When it comes to this context, American context, when black people are being
Can
discriminated against, then the Black Lives Matter.
okay, what about somebody, a police officer showing up with a KKK pin? Should they be allowed to wear that?
But that is against the tenets of the American state. Discrimination is against the American state.
True.
Can the policeman wear a short skirt if he chooses to?
I don't think that's possible, but I don't know. Like,
Oh,
I think
how about this? How about can they show up with a sign that says 9/11 never happened or something like that?
well, that is political move. That is like not social, social
Okay, but
improvement or
religion
something.
is also political to some extent. Like if you come up with like, okay, so how would you feel? How would you feel if a cop car shows up, and on the side of the cop car was written "Jesus is Lord"?
Like, I would object if it was written on the side of the car, but if like the officer was wearing a gold necklace or something on which there was this badge, then I would not feel offended. But the car is like a different thing. It's like an object which belongs to the government, and different police officers use it. So I don't think it should be there.
Do you see like would you see like if let's say for example an ex-Muslim, right,
Yes.
in United States, okay, an ex-Muslim woman, for example, who had been abused by, I don't know, her religious parents, if she calls the cops and the cop that shows up is a hijabi woman, she would be uncomfortable with the situation. You know what I mean? Like, would you guys say like, I don't feel like I'm I would be able to express what's happening here to this person. Maybe unfairly so, but like, do you see the problem? Or maybe like if it was like I don't know, like if somebody who's like left leaning, anti-religious, if a cop showed up and they were wearing a cross as a necklace, they wouldn't feel like they're being represented here by their government or being. I just think like they're displaying something, their views unnecessarily. You're supposed to be representing the state, okay? You're supposed to be an unbiased executioner of the law, and then you're showing up here, this so visibly displaying your biases and your ideology and your philosophy. Like, you can't do that with anything else except religion, right? It just seems like religion has certain privileges that other ideologies don't enjoy.
Yes, I think that privilege should go away. But like religion is like much more important than certain ideologies to people too.
Yeah, well,
Like,
what? Okay, well, okay. What if someone's veganism is more like? Why doesn't somebody say like, well, my veganism is so important to me. Your religion is so important to you. My veganism is so important to me. Why is your ideology get so much privileges in the government, in the school system, and in the court? But my ideology, yeah, this is important to me too. Okay, why does that? Why do I not get all these privileges with my ideology?
but like if somebody is a vegan, but religion is political to some extent, but veganism is like totally political, I think.
I mean, what ideology isn't political?
Like religion, like personal practice of religion is like not political. Like if
Veganism
I
is veganism could be personal choice.
Okay, so if you are like wearing a uniform and not eating animals, then it's okay. But if you are like spreading veganism while wearing a uniform, and spreading religion while wearing a uniform, then
No,
that's bad, equally bad.
no. It's like, it would be more like, I mean, I don't think, for example, a police is allowed to wear signs that shows that they're vegan or that it supports veganism. I don't think they're allowed to do that. Like in Canada, for example, the police officers are not allowed to show on their uniforms that they're a communist or they're a vegan or they're a capitalist or that they're, I don't know, they're Game of Thrones fans. They're not allowed to do any of those things, but they're allowed to show that they're Sikh. They're allowed to show that they're Muslim. All right. So why are these certain ideologies getting a privilege that the rest of us don't. Like, are their ideas more special than our ideas? It's just privileges. These are just privileges.
Okay,
Like
do you
this
believe
is a
in
privilege to
democratic
some.
vote? So within a
I
school,
don't.
if they
Yeah.
asked all the students and the parents that listen, who would be for all religious symbols, and these are the selection of things, and we voted on it, compared to no religious symbols, and the people that facilitate, the community that facilitates gets to vote on it. How would you feel about that?
Well, I
Like
don't believe in absolute democracy. I believe in liberal democracy. Liberal democracy limits absolute democracy. It tells you that there are certain things that are
you cannot do.
that you cannot do, but there are certain things that are not up for the majority, the dictatorship of the majority. When it comes
Exactly.
to fundamental human rights, it limits the power of the majority.
Yes, I agree. Like, I also don't want like a referendum to be like in every 6 months on all the decisions that people want to make. Like that will be horrible.
Okay, do you
So,
think
for
it was
example,
wrong? Sorry.
in the United States, if the majority of the people of the United States wanted to be like, we're mostly Christian, so to hell with, let's say, for example, they said to hell with secularism, we want Christian laws, okay? Even though they're a majority, because it's a liberal democracy, they would not be able to do that. It would be against their constitution, even if the majority want that.
Exactly. I think democracy should be limited by your constitution. But then what do you say to separatism? Like if Texas says that we want to be independent, then should we allow that?
No.
Uh, then like if Kashmiris say that we want to be independent, then why should we allow that?
Because the secession of Texas would be against international laws. Kashmir getting a referendum was something that was legally and constitutionally promised to them. That promise was recognized internationally as well. It's mostly a
But
violation. It's mostly an acceptance or a violation, depending on whether or not it's an acceptance or a violation of international norms.
okay,
So,
but like
for example, the secession of Quebec, I would have endorsed it if they got the vote through the referendum. You know what I mean?
okay,
Or
but
Scotland.
in if you come to Kashmir, then like the international community guidelines that were set, they were that Pakistan has to withdraw and everything, that a due process has to be followed. And now it is like 100% confirmed that that due process cannot be followed because like the three parties, Pakistan, India, and China, the three will like India has to like maintain the police system
So,
and take out all the excessive army. Pakistan and China have to take out all of the army. So that is like not possible. So, like if
can't you say that? Can't you say that you were in favor of all the actions necessary to make the due process happen? To make all the process happen.
like if all the actions that like in a world
No,
like
like you're in favor of making the conditions for a referendum to be met. Like, couldn't you say that? I'm in favor of
which
whatever actions need to be made. Like you're saying right now, a referendum is impossible. Can't you make it possible by, I don't know the details, but like, can't you at least move in a direction where it becomes possible, given that was a promise made to the
would
Kashmiris?
it also require that the Islamization that Pakistan has done that be undone?
Well, that you can't undo that.
Why?
That would be impossible to do by this point.
Like it is pretty easy. Just give them the education system, and like it will be done in like 3 or 4 generations.
Yeah, maybe. Anyways, that's another debate for another topic. That's another topic for another debate. I said it opposite. But
I was
anyways, we
initially here
should.
for that debate only.
Yes, I mean, we were supposed to have Oxymoron today, and with Ibn
But
Khayyam coming up and this debate in Kashmir,
yes,
but I don't know. They keep changing. We keep agreeing on a time, and they keep changing it. So
like
I'll keep
Oxymoron
trying to
was
do.
busy, so like I once contacted that scene from the Avengers when Hulk said like Iron Man says that Hulk says that you want me to help you to put Ultron into this, put Jarvis into this, and then Iron Man says that no, I want me to help you to put Jarvis into this. So I asked Oxymoron that would you like some my help, and then 2 or 3 days later he was like, I think you would want my help because you are going up there because I'm busy.
Well, you know, when we eventually have that debate with him and come, both of you could, like, either one of you or both of you could come. So you're still welcome
Oh,
to.
I would like to come.
So,
Thanks.
yeah, okay. I'm a friendly Muslim. Are you familiar with the Kashmir debate as much?
Oh yeah, the Kashmir Files and the debate as a yes, I am.
All right, so you should come as well, because you could help him and Kayam to talk to these Hindutva people and you two will take, you and Abekam would take one side of the Kashmir debate, and Satya and Oxymoron will take the other side.
I mean, I had a
Yeah.
question. Like, always you use terms like not all Muslims, but why don't you use like not all Hindutva when you like criticize Hindutva?
I do. I said,
You
like,
do?
don't I always say we even have Hindutva who supports us? Like, we many times I've said that many times, haven't I?
Oh,
Maybe I should say it more often.
maybe.
I
I
even
don't.
said it, I even said it today. I even said, like, just because somebody follows Hindutva ideology, that doesn't make them a bigot. I just said that to you.
Yes, yes, I remember now. But like,
Uh,
I don't watch your streams live. I just come to those streams and go to the India specific stories, and in those are
uh.
like I am not like finding those like not all Hindutva. So I thought that maybe like
Okay,
you
because
forget
the
the term
word
or something.
Hindutva refers to the ideology, right? What
Yes,
is it?
that's
What are the people? What are the people who are following Hindutva ideology called? There's no name for it.
Hindutvavadis.
Okay, so I don't say not all Islam,
Yes, yes, I
right?
agree. I agree. It was
Okay, so
like it just came to my mind.
because when Hindutva refers to an ideology, it doesn't refer to the people. So I could be like more, I don't have to say not all Hindutva, but even though I do say not, I have many times clarified that we have a lot of Hindutva supporters who are supporting us, who are condemning the people who attacked us, who are even support us financially. Like, we have that that we are friends with. I've said that many times. So maybe if I haven't said it enough, I'll try to do that more often.
Do you think more Hindu Vata actually needs to stand up and say, listen, this is what we actually stand for? We're not actually against Muslims. We want to see a better integration between the two communities. Do you feel that could be done better also?
Yes, I think a majority of the Hindutva people are like on the liberal side, but they need to stand up and tell to the like the more regressive side that know your place. But that happens. There is like a Raita wing, like there are trads because the right wing is like the liberal right wing started calling them trads because they were like go back to the old ages, and they said that you are fake right wing, you are Raitas, which means like a curd in Hindi. So there is this division, and the Raitas and trads often fight amongst each other. There is this, but I think the Raitas representation needs to increase.
We just got a $20 super chat by D, so thank you so much, D. That's a big super chat. Thank you. By the way, friendly Muslim, I do disagree with that. I don't think, like, for example, friendly Muslim, do you think like more Muslims should come up and condemn attacks by radical Muslims?
Yes. I don't.
I don't
The
because they're
Muslims will
Muslim.
say no
More
because
than
it's got nothing to do. But I also feel that other communities don't get to understand. They think our silence means that we endorse it, and sometimes I feel that we, uh,
do you
we
think
need
do you
to
think
speak
like
up and say we don't
let's
want
say
that.
a radical Muslim, let's say, does a terror attack somewhere, okay?
Hmm.
Do you think a Muslim has a more of a responsibility to condemn that than a non-Muslim?
Oh man, I hate you because you
I
just
don't
asked
think
me a
so.
question. Oh,
But when
dude.
it comes to the government, like
Wait,
in India,
let
because
him answer. I'm answering.
okay, okay,
Wait,
okay.
Oh, you're actually making me go against what the Muslims said. Because I had a conversation with someone and said, we don't need to. Why is it whenever there's something extreme, we have to say it's wrong? But then I'm like, people want us at points to say, listen, we stand against this. They want to see a unity from the Muslims also. So, but then you just posed a very good question. Do I literally have, I'm standing next to somebody, we should both equally want to condemn what's happened.
Okay,
I
Maybe
don't
so
think.
like
you got a point.
Yeah, I
what I
agree. I agree with Satya. I don't think like the Muslim has a higher responsibility than a non-Muslim. Like, I don't think like if an atheist tomorrow goes and says, like, in the name of I don't know what, in the
gravity,
name of
gravity.
I don't know, for the sake for atheism, and then kill somebody, I don't think like I have a responsibility more than before to come like I mean, it would be good if I come and condemn it, right? But I don't think I have an extra responsibility just because the guy happened to be a god atheist. You know what I mean? Like
But what
why?
if like there is an atheist government? You had made that government win, and there are like two factions. One is like the radical atheists, and one is like the moderate atheists. And the government thinks that the radical atheists have like a lot more share than they do have on the ground, and it sometimes like looks away on the other side. Then I think you would say that the moderate atheists should say that what the government is doing is wrong, and you should look at us. We are the real people here.
Everybody should. I mean, everybody should say this. Like everybody, like the responsibility. Okay, so for example, if a Muslim, okay, let's say there's a Muslim who's not like very peaceful. Okay, let's say for example he's condemning, I don't know, North Korea, like he's focusing on North Korea and he's condemning North Korea. Okay, and
Yes.
he's like, or he's involved in activism in like I don't know, in climate change, or like he's trying to his mind is focused on saving the Amazon. Okay, he's a Muslim and his work and activism is focused on saving the Amazon. That's his activism. Okay, I'm not going to be like, hey, you are, why didn't you condemn that radical Islamic attack? I'm like, that's not what I'm like. Why? What? He could look at me like, why haven't you? Like, you do it. Like, you're following that news. You condemn it. I'm doing something else here. You know what I mean? Like, what? Like, I think if I think this Muslim person, because of being Muslim, has a higher responsibility to condemn an Islamic radical attack, I am. This is kind of a guilt by association. I'm like, oh, this is one of your people. I'm like, what do you mean it's one of my people? I'm not in favor of those attacks. Has nothing to do with me. Like, if you're a part of the, I think as an atheist who might be involved in covering news around that topic, I would be even more responsible for highlighting that than him. You know, like if I don't highlight the news, you could, even as an atheist, you could come and tell like, hey, Armin, isn't this your job? Why haven't you highlighted this? But that Muslim, even though he's a Muslim, he's like, his work is like, I don't know, saving the Amazon. You should attack him if he fails to do his activism right. You know what I mean?
Yes, but
I just
like, what if you put him in spot and then he like looks the other way and say that I won't comment? What then?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, if you're put on the spot, maybe you should be like, yeah, obviously I condemn it, but then I will want to put you on the spot for putting him on the spot, because by putting him on the spot, because he's a Muslim, you just did guilt by association. So yeah, sure, he should, like, maybe if put on the spot, then he could be like, yes, I am against this. Obviously, this is wrong, but then now we have to turn the focus on you. Like, why did you do that? Why did you put him on the spot? Like, why would you associate him with an act that you have no reason for him to be in support of simply because he's a Muslim? You know what I mean?
Yes, I think that's right. But when it comes to like ideologies like atheism, communism, Hindutva, like all these ideologies, I think the radical minority is like so loud that the moderates who are working in that field should also speak up that look, we are the real people.
I mean, I think instead of the word should, we should use the word it would be good.
Yes, it would be good. Yes.
Yeah, because when we should, we're introducing a responsibility, and I don't think that responsibility exists. I think you could like encourage them. We could be like, I want to encourage moderate Muslims to call this out, not say like they should, because where is this should coming from? Yeah.
I agree. Like it should not be required that if somebody doesn't say this, then you call him like you label him a bigot. But it would be nice if they said it.
They should be invited to condemn it, not act like this is a must.
Yes, agreed.
Should I stand up for ex-Muslims? So if an ex-Muslim has been persecuted, do you think I have a responsibility to stand up for an ex-Muslim and condemn any actions?
Only if you're involved in that certain type of activism, then that's your responsibility by definition. But not because you're a Muslim. Like if you're a Muslim that is like, I don't know, a nurse, and you're involved in helping patients, I wouldn't feel like, no, then you don't have that responsibility. I mean, it would be appreciated though.
Can you imagine how many Muslims, like honestly, just even if I clip this last 2 minutes of you supporting a Muslim view that they shouldn't have to condemn this, which actually goes against how I feel about certain times when it should be. That's a clip in itself, because a lot of Muslims
I don't understand
understand that. about
Why
you.
would a Muslim? But why would a Muslim be responsible? Why would you think a Muslim is responsible for supporting ex-Muslims? Like, what is that? Why is it like? Why would they do that with ex-Muslims and not, like, I don't know, some other groups that are being oppressed somewhere else? You know what I mean? Like, for example, why not? Why would they, as a Muslim, why would it be your responsibility to call out the mistreatment of ex-Muslims more than the mistreatment of, I don't know, Sunnis in Shia Iran, for example?
No. By two definitions, it's whether I'm an activist in part of it, then yes, it would be by definition, which you pointed out. I've actually learned quite a lot from you today. And also by no definition that, okay, fine, I shouldn't have a place of calling out anything because I'm not the one involved in any sort of support of any sort of persecution or bad treatment. But yeah, morally, people expect us to talk though, and they want to hear our voice.
If you say a Muslim is responsible to speak in support of ex-Muslims more than any other group that is being oppressed for some other reason, you're technically suggesting that they're somehow responsible.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm not holding that position.
And that would be
no.
Yeah, and that would be guilt by association. I mean, I would, if, for example, if a Muslim says, like, if I ask a Muslim, like, why are you not saying anything about ex-Muslims? And they say, like, I'm actually fighting for animal rights, and so I'm doing my part in this world. I would be like, okay, fair enough. You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing something good. Like, I'm fighting for chickens. They're abusing chickens, and I'm saving chickens. I can't do ex-Muslims and chickens at the same time. Okay, I'm already exhausted saving chickens. I'm like, fair point. Like, you're doing something good. Like, I think the expectation should be like, I am trying to reduce misery in this world to some extent. If you think like I should focus on this specific thing because I'm a Muslim, then you're suggesting that I'm somehow responsible, and I think that's not a good suggestion.
I think they should also be allowed to like have a like chill time while not doing any sort of activism, not doing any sort of good work, and just enjoying their life. And if you ask them, do you condemn this? Then if they say that, okay, I will condemn this like to you, but in public I won't, because if I condemn this, then I will have to be aware of the news and like be condemning also, like condemn every other thing too. So I don't want to get
exactly.
in that mess. So,
there's so many messed up things that are happening all the time. If you like try to like, hey, why didn't you condemn this? So like, dude, if I have to condemn this, do you know I should like quit my job and not sleep and just go on YouTube and just read the list of all the things that I need to condemn? You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. Like for you to expect me to condemn all of those things. It doesn't make any sense.
Armin, could you highlight this comment by T.S. Suru? This is a perfect example. His first comment, should not, yeah. So now with this is an interesting point. So
read it.
Okay, so at Secular Jihadists, of course, an individual Muslim should not be held to account. For example, the Muslim who recently killed people in Norway, but I damn sure expect Muslims to cooperate with the police. Now, this is an interesting part about this. It's been determined.
Everyone to cooperate with the police.
No, that's fine. It's been determined that he's got mental health issues. The fact that he is a Muslim may just be secondary, but the fact that he does have mental health issues is part of the actual situation. Now, another gentleman who had mental health issues committed a similar crime in another country, but they never mentioned his religion. This is where I have a problem, that do I need to speak up or do I not need to speak up? And where it's determined that someone has mental health issues and they've committed a crime, why does their religion hold any value? Because as far as a Muslim would be concerned, they have mental health issues, therefore they're not subject to any sort of Muslim, religiosity. They're not in their right mind to follow the religion.
No, I would criticize. I would say something else. Okay, let's say, for example, this guy had no mental health issues, and he did everything he did specifically because of Islam. Okay, it was Islam and not mental health issues. Okay, I just when you say when the comment says I sure expect Muslims to cooperate with the police. As opposed to what? Like, should Muslims cooperate? You expect Muslims to cooperate with the police? Wouldn't you expect everybody to cooperate with the police? Like, and non-Muslims, like if they could help in this situation, they should also be cooperating with the police. So what does someone I'm hearing some echo. What does someone's being a Muslim or not being a Muslim change that factor here? Like, I don't understand how would that calculation change? I'm hearing echo. Satya, I'm hearing echo from your mic.
Wait a second, let me mute myself.
Friendly Muslim, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And he's justifying it on his second comment that, again, that secular jihadists, for example, why did some of the Islamic terrorists in France manage to hide in some Muslim majority neighborhoods until the police found them? ? Because Muslim brother. Now, they are obviously part of the same clique. And I've also known of gangs that are hiding criminals that are wanted by the police that are non-Muslim. It does happen. They are part of a conspiracy. I don't necessarily think that's a Muslim brother problem. I think that is there is a group of individuals with an ideology that are protecting someone that is wanted by the police. It happens. Gang members are how many people, top 10 most wanted, are hiding within this. They always go for their family members. They always go for associates. This is very typical of any sort of criminal behavior who's wanted by the police. They will go underground with family, with associates, and not cooperate with the police. I mean, how many gang members are cooperating with the police? So again, see, this is the whole Muslim comparison, which I feel isn't fair. And that's what we need to speak out against.
No, so what I would say here is that the people who helped this person get away and they didn't cooperate with the police, the issue, the part that we are condemning, it is the fact that they hit that person, not the fact that they're Muslim. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have this issue with Muslims who didn't hide a criminal. We have the issues with these people who did hide the criminal. So the key factor here that we're condemning is hiding the criminal, not them being Muslim. So again, that's what I'm saying. We have to isolate these factors. So when you say I expect them to cooperate with the police, even if they were not Muslim, you will still expect them to cooperate with the police. So them being Muslim or not being a Muslim is not at all a factor. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and therefore I shouldn't have to speak out against it, which actually agrees with Armin's. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
I might actually like, if so, for example, if there is an atheist who comes out and says like for atheism and then kills a whole bunch of people, I might actually go, I don't know, because I'm thinking about this, Satya, because Satya, like, well, you should, if you were cornered or something, then you, like, if somebody highlighted you, then you would condemn it. I might like feel like, why do I have to complain? It has nothing to do with me. So I might even go out of my way. Like, this is so obviously condemnable that the fact that you're asking me to condemn it is an insult to me. Like, why am I being asked to condemn this man? The guy committed murder. Like, obviously it's wrong. So I just think, like, if you go to, if I was a Muslim, I would feel the same thing. Like, if I was a Muslim and I was like, somebody just killed a whole bunch of innocent people, like, Armin, as a Muslim, would you condemn it? I feel insulted. I feel like, dude, he just committed a whole bunch of innocent people. Why? Like, the fact that you're questioning the idea that I might not condemn this because I'm a Muslim, it means that you are think that me being a Muslim might suggest that I would be okay with killing a whole bunch of innocent people. Like, I'm like, I don't want to condemn this because I don't want to give in to this idea that you think like this is so obviously wrong that it doesn't even need to be said. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I might actually condemn it because it wouldn't be helpful if I didn't condemn it, but I would be really pissed the fact that I'm being told to, like, you must condemn this. You know what I mean?
Yes, I get that.
Yeah.
But like, what if you have met that person just before he committed the murder or something?
What if I what?
What if you had met the person like just before he had committed the murder?
I mean, okay, I would. That it gets me involved in this story a lot more than what we're suggesting here. We're talking about degrees of separation so wide.
Yes, like,
now you're throwing me in the middle of that story. That would completely change the entire scenario.
like then you should, right?
Well, I mean, like I just met the person. First of all, there's no like. I need to know what the story is more. Like, what happened? Who's this guy? Like,
Like
you
he,
have this is a very odd situation. All of a sudden, you change the entire story.
okay, so like you
I
met a
mean,
guy.
if he was my I mean, okay, so let's say, for example, he was your friend, okay, and you're like, why should like, and you're crying, like you're like so upset about it. Like it would be weird if I like commented like, hey, would you condemn it? Your friend was just murdered. Like, what do you like? That would be a weird thing to ask me. Like, of course, like it's kind of like Satya. If your friend was killed by a mob, should you be made to condemn it? Like, why would I even need to condemn it? Like, this is so
No, no, no.
obvious.
If the friend was the one who committed the murder,
Wait, if you yourself committed the murder, should you condemn
no,
it?
no, like
Oh.
like a friend
Oh,
of
your
mine who
friend.
was
I thought your friend
yes.
died. Oh, it
No,
was
no,
your
no. My
friend.
friend committed the murder like just after meeting me, just 2 days after meeting me, like something like that.
Why? Okay, is there a suspicion that you're in favor of it? Because sometimes things are so obvious that if you ask, so for example, if my friend all of a sudden committed a murder, nobody would ask, like nobody in the right mind would, like, I would be so shocked. I'm like, we didn't know how this happened. Nobody would like, okay, I mean, I know you're shocked and everything, but can you condemn the murder? Like, what? Dude, like what the hell? Of course. like why would you even think that I'm pro? Like, anybody asking you to condemn a murder is kind of implicitly suggesting that you might be pro-murder. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes, I agree.
Like, for example, if Satya, if your friend, your closest friend, okay, raped an entire village, okay, and I came to you and then like condemn your friend, wouldn't you be like, dude, like what the hell? Why would you ask me that?
Yes, like I would definitely feel weird.
Yeah. Okay, so this weirdness that you're feeling, I think like a lot of Muslims are right to feel like that when people are like, hey, condemn these mass murders, condemn these acts of terror. Like, by asking that, you're suggesting that they are potential mass murderers or like themselves. That if they like, you could be like, hey, I'm watching you. I know that every single one of you are a potential dangerous person. That's what you're doing when you're asking them to condemn them.
Yes, I agree.
Do you think Muslims need to have a constitution or something that outlines that as being a Muslim, these are the values
No,
that we stand for, essentially? Not an official
I don't think so.
constitution, but for
Is it?
example,
Is it?
let me
Don't you
finish
have
that.
that already? Yeah, it's a
No, but
Quran.
we have a Quran, but you might say that the Quran stands for certain, by your interpretation, it stands for certain values. I might read it and say it stands for certain values. So, do you feel that the Muslims, in general, should say, yes, I follow this Quran and I adhere to this, and these are the principles that I take from the scripture?
I mean, that's called the tafsir,
No,
and that's called
the
I mean,
tasfirs are of the
the
time, and there've been disagreements
okay.
in regards to tasfirs even.
I mean, they do that already, and that's why they have, because they disagree all the time. We have so many different branches. There's so many different sects, so many different understandings. I mean, there's no I mean, they don't agree on the interpretation, so there's no way to come up with one understanding.
Okay. Would you like that, for example, you meet me and I say, well, these are my values, for example, and I had a list of my values basically according to the Islam that I perceive it to be. So there would be no understanding. So, like, because one question happened, I'll leave that. That's for another topic. Because I'm offended that people straight away, when you find out that I'm a Muslim, someone goes, "Oh, what about the age of Aisha? What do you think? Should I even?" This is a thought I've had. Should I have to defend it, talk about it, or even acknowledge it, or should I be offended that someone even asks me that question?
Well,
Because
if you brought it up, then yeah, that's
say if I
fine. But
didn't. So, for example, in the comments, there was a person. They said, "Is friendly Muslim in the chat?" I said no, and then they straight away the first question they asked was about the marriage of Aisha. So, should I be offended by that question straight away? Should I disregard the person straight away? How do you think I should feel about that?
I think annoyed would be the proper response. I wouldn't be. I mean, if I was you, I wouldn't be offended. I would be annoyed. It's kind of like it's kind of like you meeting a gay person, and all of a sudden questioning them about their sexual life just as soon as you find out that they're gay. Like, just the knowledge that they're gay just gives you the permission to all of a sudden ask people about their sexual lives and sexual preferences, or or even worse, as soon as you find out that somebody's trans, gives you the permission to start asking about their genitals or even their,
Yeah, I think that's so wrong. I think I'm really conflicted about this because I think that you should just identify them as their name. I don't think you have to use he or she, for example. I think that's
I think if you're curious, though, you should like try to get a like. Here's what I recommend to people. Okay, you find that somebody is a Muslim, and you really want to ask them a question, and you're so curious, and you don't know if it's okay. Okay, I think the question that you're allowed to ask is that the first question is like, "Hey, I'm curious about some certain things in Islam. Would it be okay if I ask you some questions?" I think that's the only question that you should be able to ask, and then the person can kill you like nope or yes, and they give you the green light or the red light to proceed. Right? Same thing with everybody else. Like if somebody's like finds out that I'm an atheist, right? I think like there's like, hey, if they find that I'm an atheist, if you find that somebody's an atheist, I don't think you should give yourself the green light to be like, how could you not believe in God? Given this and this and this and that, right? You should. But I think the polite question that you could ask them, like, "Oh, you're an atheist. I have some questions about atheism. Is it okay if I ask you?" And they could be like, "No, yes, or maybe not right now." What do you think? I think that's a polite way to go about it. Just get the permission first before you ask the questions.
Yeah,
But then you have to give this privilege to like the horrible ideas like the Nazis and everyone. Like if somebody shows up and does that Hitler salute, and then you have to be like, okay, so you're a Nazi, and I would like to ask you a question. So like, will we have to do that too?
No. Okay. So the difference is that they're so unanimously a-holes that they're that they're a danger to society. You know what I mean? Like the harm from individuals that belong to that group is far greater than the harm that you're trying to avoid by being polite, by holding back. Unless you think like, actually, no, maybe because some people would suggest actually you being polite to them is the best way to, you know, get them to change, reconsider their ideas. But I'm saying is that the measure over their whatever your philosophy is, the calculation there is completely off. Okay, so for example, and the number of people, the people who are Nazis, because this is like a much smaller group of people, right? So for example, if you went back to during World War II, then there are so many people who might be just nominal Nazis, but didn't even understand the ideology or weren't horrible people, but just they're part of Germany, and Germany is a Nazi country, and they're endorsing this political system, and they're by default nominal Nazis. You can't just say like all of Germany at that time were horrible people. You know what I mean? And I just think like so. But once an ideology that extreme is defeated and becomes smaller and smaller and smaller, the people that remain in it, they will become the worst of those, the most radical elements of that idea. So right now you could say that the members of that group are the vast majority, or all of them are horrible people. I honestly I think that about Islam as well, right? I think the vast majority of Muslims are really good people, but I think when the day comes that Islam turns into a small cult, then the remaining members within that cult are probably more radical. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be like just the radical elements left, okay, that they're refusing to leave this cult, okay. So that's why it's a difference. There's a huge difference between Christianity, Islam, and a group like Nazis.
Okay.
Anyways.
Like that.
But yeah,
that was
but
a
I
really
agree with
good
Dark in
feedback.
the live chat. Like you could still be. I'm not saying don't be a decent person to a member of that group, not because they deserve it, but because if you have any chance of changing their opinion, it will probably be by being a nice person. You know what I mean?
Okay, so to this Tazuro, is it Zururusu? How do you think I
Trial.
should?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you think I should respond to that one? If you're unhappy with people asking, I should just unsubscribe to the religion.
Well, are you a person? Depends on you. Are you a person who wants to have that conversation, or a person who doesn't want that conversation?
I don't. I'm of the position now. I'm actually going to make a video of it, and then I won't have to deal with this ongoing. But um, I believe I shouldn't be asked about it. To be honest, I don't think I should have to be
But then, okay,
justify
but
it.
do you
I'm
want
not-
to have that? Yeah, but do you want to have that conversation, even though you think you shouldn't be asked about it? But then after that, do you like to have that conversation with them or no?
If someone asked me, I probably would.
Okay, so you could say, for example, there's three responses. Okay, well, there are a couple of responses. One is like, you shouldn't be asking this. You could tell them like, listen, just because I'm a Muslim, that doesn't mean that I have to be able. You could just ask me about that. I'm answerable to any random person that comes and talks to me. Okay, and I'm not gonna answer you. Okay, and or you could say like, hey, don't think that just because I'm a Muslim, I have to be you could just come and ask me questions and I have to be answerable to every random person that asks me. However, I will like to, I would answer your question, but just don't do this with anybody else. I will have this conversation with you because I'm ready to have this conversation with you because I have, this is something that I'm familiar with and I have done research for and I'm eager to talk about it. But don't do this with other people just because they happen to be Muslim. And you could even give them an example. Do you think, for example, if you just meet somebody who's gay, do you think that gives you the green light to all of a sudden start talking about their sexuality? Like, no. So you can't do that with a Muslim as well, or an atheist. Just because you happen to know somebody is an atheist, are you going to all of a sudden question them about their views? Like, do you think that you have the permission to just question them? Maybe ask for permission first before you start questioning somebody about their worldview. Maybe they're not comfortable having that conversation with every random person. Do you know how annoying it is for people to just constantly like question you about certain things just because you belong to a certain group, right? And
This
even
happens a lot in the West. I'm saying that
and
this happens a lot in the West.
if they say like, hey, I'm a Christian or I'm a vegan, you could ask me about my views and I wouldn't I will answer you. I have no problem. But like, okay, maybe don't project your own personal preferences to other people just because you're okay with answering people about whatever questions they ask you. That doesn't mean that other people are. Maybe if you want to be a if you don't want to be a polite person, then well, don't be an a-hole. But if you want to be a polite person, I suggest you ask people first if they're okay about having certain conversations with you before you just jump right in. Or you could potentially ignore them and just be like, go away. I don't want to talk to you. That's another option. I don't think there's a right answer. So you're asking me what is the right answer? I'm saying all of these are right answers. How could you have a wrong answer? Because it really depends on you as an individual about what you're comfortable with.
Like when Hindus go to the West, like it most often happens to them that somebody just comes up to them and says, "What's your caste?" Like so many people have told me that they are annoyed by it. Like,
yeah.
Do you
this
feel the
happens very
caste system
common.
now should just be like at this point now? It just shouldn't even be discussed, and there should be no discussions or villages and different sort of things that people ask. You know, what village are you from? Where are you
I
from in
think
India? And these sort of things.
uh, so. You are asking me about caste, right? Like, what I think about caste and what should be the future of it.
Yeah.
I think that caste, like in its entirety, should be abolished. But I have no problems with like people like remembering that, oh, my grandparents were like of this caste, and but they shouldn't have any like identity associated with it other than like history, the sense of history, without supremacy, of course.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think we all agree with that. Anyway, I have to go because I'm gonna die. But I'm just gonna read two more comments in the live chat. Troll is saying, "Unless a woman wears a hijab, I cannot tell whether a person is a Muslim. My premise is that a person initiates a conversation about Islam or justifies or demands something based on Islam." Yeah, but even then, I will still ask permission before I start a conversation about Islam. I don't think it's. I think. Friendly Muslim, let me know if you think this is fine or not. If I see somebody is wearing a hijab, okay, and I do give myself, I think it's still it's okay for me to be like, hey, um, would it be okay if I talk about Islam to you? Do you think that would be rude? Like if I have some questions about Islam, let me know if that's okay to ask. Do you think that's rude or not?
I think you can ask. I think you could also now, with your premise, why are you presuming that someone just wearing a scarf is a Muslim? Because I've actually come across more Christians recently that have started wearing headscarves, and other traditions also. So are you
You
then
could
just
tell. You could tell. I mean, you could mostly tell the type of headscarf that is Islamic from the ones that are not.
true?
And it
But I have
and
come across people
it
that aren't though, that wear the same type
okay,
of hijab. But
but what is that so bad to make a mistake? They were like, oh, I actually happen to be wearing one of those scarves that really very much looks like the Islamic scarf, but it's not Islamic scarf. And you just made a mistake. Would that be there? Like, would that be like such a tragedy that I made that
no,
mistake? They could just clarify.
I think you could then say, if you are a Muslim, I would like to ask you some questions about Islam. Yeah, no,
Yeah, I mean, but given that, like, if you are a
semantics.
Muslim, if somebody is wearing a headscarf and I tell them like an Islamic looking headscarf, and I say, if you are a Muslim, she's gonna be like, if I'm a Muslim, bitch, look at my headscarf. Like, what are you talking? I think that
Can be
was
like culturally Muslim and not religious. I don't know whether this argument plays into Islam or not, but in like Hinduism, it does play that people like
Yeah.
are like even still, but they are like atheists who identify as Hindus, just like I am. So like, I don't think that
Can
applies
you
to like.
explain to me what a
Oh,
Hindu atheist is? Because I'm still trying to
wait,
get my
that's
head
a topic.
around it.
That's a
Okay,
huge topic. Let's do that another
okay,
time.
all right,
But I have
okay,
I have a very important question that we could answer next time. Okay. The purpose of the
okay.
hijab is to reduce the aura, right? So to make you less attracted to women, right? I always have this. This is the main purpose of hijab. Okay. My problem with this is that there's certain types of hijab that I find very attractive, that turns me
Same.
on. Okay. So
Me too.
Me too.
so oh wow.
All of us.
Oh my god. So should a woman, given the purpose of a hijab, if they know that their hijab is turning me on, should they take off their hijab when they meet me in front of me, given that the whole point of hijab is to reduce the horniness, and they're increasing our horniness?
Well, is it a desire or is it just? See, I think you'd have to. Okay, it is a conversation for next time. That's a good one, actually. That's actually a pretty deep conversation that
Next
we could
time.
go into. Yeah,
Right.
that's a blockbuster one, actually. All right.
Okay, let's bring that up next time.
Can you put your email in the private chat for me, and I'll just email you now.
Okay, let me do that. It's armin.navabi@gmail.com. All right, so stay tuned for a very a very sexy discussion like that. Yeah, subscribe and like and hit the bell button for the next time we go live and have conversations like this. Anyways, I'm gonna end the stream, guys. This was really fun. Thank you for being here. I thought we were gonna debate Kashmir, but this was also interesting. So we'll do that maybe next time. All right, guys. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.